1967 American Motors builds big wagons. See them at your American Motors Rambler dealer now.
Nothing upsets a pickle lover more than a dull, soggy pickle. Pickle lovers always insist on the proud pickle. Heinz. No compromise, no shortcuts, no soggy pickle. Heinz stops at nothing to give you a pickle that tastes the way no other pickle does. Crisp, full-bodied, savory. That's what makes Heinz the proud pickle. If you were the best tasting pickle, wouldn't you be proud?
Now, if you've got a dull, soggy pickle, I'm afraid I can't help you with that. I'm afraid you need to talk to a medical professional. Sorry about that, folks. A little bit of Streamlabs desktop just kind of disconnected. Let me go ahead and finish what we were getting into here. And people can hopefully catch up with us and get going here. And appreciate everybody that tunes in and catches up with us or catches this later on. All right, so we were evaluating this loop here, and we were seeing here that when a particular potential dad wins the competition here, against the challenger, but has already been evaluated. If the multiple force is turned off, they will not have another opportunity to potentially force themselves. It's sort of like after they have particular familiarity with a particular potential mom or partner, the risk of force goes away. It's just something you might see in a natural system where force is really only attempted by strangers or on first encounter. It's just the way we set it up. Gives us something else to vary later and see what difference it makes. All right. Eventually beats, they beat everybody. 35 beats 62 and 49. And it's mostly because they're tied, right? Tie goes to the initial dad, whoever was already there. Challenger loses if it's tied. Sort of like you got to beat the champion, in wrestling or whatever. And you see these scores are super low because we only did 10 generations, so scores are still super low. I just wanted to run quickly. But here comes 22. They actually have a score of 1, so they win. They become the new potential dad. And then they get evaluated, and you can see they successfully forced themselves on the mom. The potential probability was very high, and they did indeed express that potential. The likelihood of an attempt, if they expressed that potential, was actually pretty, I wouldn't say low, but it was less than 50%. But in this case, even with the 43% chance, they actually do attempt it. And turns out, again, they are a really high probability of success if they actually do attempt it. So it works. And like I said, there's no resistance. So since there's no resistance, 22 becomes the dad. They go into the birthing chamber, 85 and 22. You can see they have the same exact shape. It's also extreme. It's almost -1. Very low chance of reproducing, so they don't. So then we got to repeat the process because we have not successfully reproduced an offspring for that spot. So we stay at the same spot. We do it all over again. 70's the mom, 23's the dad. We go on and do the damn thing. This time, As you see, you go through all of the challengers without any, because there's really only one dad. He doesn't force, but then he doesn't. There's new dads picked. There's a new dad picked here, but doesn't force. All right, so then we go all the way through, and then they have, you see, extreme shapes that are on opposite sides, -8. Positive 0.8 and negative 0.9, very high chance of reproducing, and they do. And so that shows you the power of coercion, right? Because it undermines the mom's preference. It undermines the competition of the potential dads. And, you know, there are real consequences to this, because you can end up mated with something that is not your preference, and then ends up a bad shape where, you know, so that kind of signaling has to be worked through, because you might have a system where they sort of use preferences and colors and stuff like that to sort, you know, who's more likely to coerce and who's not and stuff like that. So anyway, that's just how that works. And before I get this meeting set up, I'll show you what happens if we turn on resistance. A little bit harder to identify, but let's go ahead and give it a whirl. Boom. And the reason it's a little bit hard to identify resistance is because the mom, like, keeps going. So you, oh, crap. Hang on. What's going on here? All right, here we go. So here's one. We got to find one where the dad actually attempts a force and then it's successfully resisted. Oh, you know what makes this easier to do? At turning on multiple. Ah, here we go. Ah. So here's one where it's false. But look, all right, so look. So this one is 41 and 33. 41's the mom, 33 is a potential dad. The dad actually successfully forces, right? True, had the expression, attempts it, and is successful. And then the mom does not resist, right? Because she's then evaluated, and if she successfully resists this, then she'll continue the loop, right? And but what happens is she expresses the potential to resist, even though it's less than 50%, she expresses it. Coin flip goes her way. But then when she does not even attempt to resist. So this is like a female who's in a situation where she has copulation forced on her. She does have the potential to resist, but in this particular instance does not attempt to resist. And since she does not attempt to resist, this does not come into play, although we can tell if she would have attempted to resist, she would have been unsuccessful. Therefore, the force is successful, the loop is ended, and you know, they go into the birthing chamber and actually end up, even though they're still less than 50%, coin flip goes their way, fortunately or unfortunately in that case, and then they successfully reproduce. So that's kind of how resistance works. It's easier to see sometimes if you turn on multiple force, because you get a lot more forces, and then you see more resistance. This is also funny. I made this. This is where you see that selfing option I showed you, where I turned off selfing. So it says, I just made it print out this message where it says the dad is the mom. That's what this double equal sign means. It means that these two things are the same thing. So it's saying the dad is the mom, and that's gross. That's just a message I made it say. And it shows me here's the mom, while the dad is equal to the mom is 7. The old dad is 7. The new dad is now going to be 25. That way, we get a better initial mom and dad. So we would have had initial mom equals 7, initial dad equals 7. It successfully blocks that from happening, and we end up with initial mom is 7 and initial dad is 25. So we see everything's working. We know turning off multiple force is working. We know selfing is working. We see our resistance probabilities showing up. We could go ahead and make sure it's resuming the loop or something when it happens correctly, but I don't need to do that right now. But yeah, that's the basics of the game, guys. I just wanted to show you guys how the mating game works. Now remember, when we actually do this with Cliff, we will probably start without coercion or force. There's no need. We don't need that to test shape mating. We will also probably maybe even start without Berry World. Why? We can just pick random organisms and let them mate or not mate, reproduce or not reproduce based on their shape. That's all we need to test. And then the variable we'll test in our early experiments will just be how the power of the function influences. You saw that you get much more severe selection when you increase the power, when you square the function, cube the function, and keep increasing to higher orders. So we're going to test, power of 1 squared or power of 2, and then raised to the power of 4. So 1, 2, and 4, because you're increasing by a factor of 2 each time. And that's basically the deal. It looks like coding to me. Yep, pretty much that's what we're doing. We were coding, showing that project. But I do have a 5 o'clock meeting. I want to make sure I'm on time to that. So I'm going to get you guys switched over. We're going to start to look at, I want to watch this other video, but I won't do that right now. I'm going to put something else on while I have this quick meeting, and then I'll come back and we'll do the let's get ready to rumble stuff. And then we're going to get ready for our Monday night. Monday nights are going to be fun in the gather. We're going to be double streaming every Monday. Monday Night Football and Monday Night Raw. Very, very, very excited about that. Cannot wait. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and rock with the Atheist experience for a little bit and get that going. And I'll be back in a few after this meeting. So thank you all. I really appreciate everybody. And like I said, I'm going to keep the meeting with Rob short. So I'm just going to put on something fun for a few. And then when I come back, we are going to invade the right wing. Rumble, Parler, Truth Social. Get ready, folks. We're going out there. Where's Lena? Lena's going to help me infiltrate. She might be, they might be working right now. Not really sure. But yeah, let's get it, y'all. It's going to be super fun. I'm really, really excited. I'll see everybody in a few minutes.
We want the truth. So watch Truth Wanted live Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTW and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/calltw.
So you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder what will it take for you to start opening your eyes? I wonder.
Welcome, everybody, to the Atheist Experience. It is October 23rd, 2022. It's always hard for me to say. It's about to be the 2023, so I got to catch up on that. I am J. Mike. Alongside, we pulled somebody away from, well, I like to think that you go on these like these really extravagant yacht parties, with your boat life, Jim. So I'm glad that we could pull you away from, the celebrity parties that you go to on yachts and all that. And you could join us today. It's always good doing the show with you. How are you?
Not too bad. I wish that was my life, but not quite. doing really, really good. Weather
Let's
is
make that
finally getting
we
nice.
should make that a thing.
Yeah, we
We're
should.
gonna make that a thing. You go to these like extravagant yacht parties.
Right. Yeah, well, the weather is finally getting, I was getting worried there that, and through October it was 80, 90 degrees out. And then finally it turned cold one day, and now we've got some good weather. So some of that good fall weather almost into winter. But global warming isn't a thing. It's not man-made. It's not a problem. It's all as God ordains it. So I guess it's okay.
Yeah, that's a whole can to open up. Yeah, it's getting it'll get like 50 degrees in Georgia, and everybody's like, hit the deck. It's so cold. You're used to like 90, prior to that. So I get that completely. Well, for those that don't know, we are a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. If you like what we do and you'd like to support us, there are many ways that you can do so. You can become a member for as little as 99 cents a month by clicking the join button below the video, and that will give you access to special chat emojis or to get around the slow mode if that feature is up. As well as below the chat, you can see a donation button where the 100% of the proceeds go to the Atheist Community of Austin, and so we greatly appreciate that. We have some calls stacking up, so let's just dive on in to. Let's go with Kevin. Let's go with Kevin in Georgia. Wants to talk about faith and slavery. What's going on, Kevin?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Yeah, so I wanted to jump right into it. Just to make it clear, I am a theist. I do believe in the Christian Yeshua, Jesus, God of Abraham. And I want to talk about how there are many different times where I catch this show. And as I'm talking to you guys, I'm also talking to theists too, because it's very frustrating when I hear them try to correct slavery and, the things that God allowed in the Bible, and hell, you can even say allowed today. It's frustrating because there's no excuse for what he ordained. Literally. Like, I don't understand why we're trying to figure out, well, this was the reason or these people were bad. It is what it is. If we're going to take the Bible as it is, and what was that?
Yeah, I was agreeing with you.
Right. If we're going to take the Bible as it is, we're going to have to accept the fact that, God has done some, at least by my standard, which doesn't really mean much, but this is just my opinion, some really messed up things. And I think we can all agree on that, if we're being honest here.
Can I ask a question about that real quick? I mean, I don't want to cut you off, so if you'd prefer to go on to get to a point, that's fine.
No, please go ahead.
So, like, for me as a non-believer, right, that I have this weird thing in my head where the first thing I want to ask you is, like, in virtue of what do you think those actions are wrong? Because it sounds like you don't derive a moral standard from that being, right? So, like, do you think goodness and evil is separate from God? It's not like his nature, but it's actually something independent of him? Because that, to me, seems like you wouldn't need God, right?
No, not at all.
Morals.
Not at all. I'm being realistic. What I think God says is law. What he asks me to do is what I'm supposed to do. Do I do it all the time? No. Do I agree? No. And I'm just saying that I have an issue with what he's asked. What the reason I brought that up, so you guys can elaborate where I'm trying to go, is I think if you're going to be honest in your belief, you have to accept the fact that you're taking the good with the Bible, with the bad also. And as horrible and as horrendous as I think these things are that he's done, I think there's a lot of good things that he's done too. If I'm to believe in God, I have to believe that he gives me and all of us the life of breath, and my children and everyone else around us, and gives us the ability to be in who we want to be and believe what we want to believe. And I don't think you can find any religion, I'm going to be done so you guys can respond. So let me get this last part out. I don't think you can find any religion, any part on the planet when you can subjectively say this is horrendous, this is bad, yet here we are still living our lives, having an issue with maybe different religions or even where we live. But why is it that we complain more when it comes to God? We have this standard that we don't even live by ourselves, whether it's in our own country, whether it's in our own family. But it's horrible. We can't take his good with the bad, but we do it every day in our own life. I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Well, I would like to know what you're using as your standard for good and evil. So I use human happiness of the population of humanity on this planet. And things that contribute to that happiness are good. Things that take away from that happiness of the population are bad. What are you using for a standard for good and evil to call anything God does in the Bible good or bad?
Well, I could say I'm using my own, but I don't think that standard exists without him. Personally, Jim, if me and you are talking face to face, I agree with you that anything that does not hurt us is seemingly good for us. We agree there, and that's something I want to make clear in this call. Is that
I'm not quite saying that. Although for the purpose of this call, I mean, I guess we can go with that for the moment. But I mean, where does the standard? I mean, where does your standard come from? If it's not coming from God, where does it come from?
I'm saying it is coming from God. I'm saying that doesn't mean I agree with it. Personally.
Oh, so God can. The God you believe in can do evil.
Absolutely. In my opinion, sure.
Is it better to do good or evil? If your God commands you to do evil, why is it okay to do evil in God's name?
Because I'm saying that it's evil to me. I think that's subjective completely. Even though I think that would be wrong, I don't think it matters what I think, is what I'm getting at. I think the fact of evil is irrelevant.
So with my the standard I choose, happiness of the population of the human population of the planet is subjective. However, I can make objective measurements against that subjective standard, and so I can be very objective about whether or not things like abortion, slavery, social programs, etc., are good or evil based on that. We could measure happiness of the population based on those things, and so I can make an objective measurement against that subjective goal. How do you measure evil? That when God tells you to do it, how do you make that measurement?
I don't, and that's what I'm saying is, in all actuality, I do, because I'm human and I've been brought up to believe certain things and I have my own opinion. But what I'm trying to say is, whether I do or I don't, it doesn't make a difference. And when I brought up everything else around the planet, I mean, I just cooked lamb today with cheese and it was delicious. Yet in another part of the world, I'd probably be thrown in prison for that. So that might be evil to them, but to me, it was delicious. So I'm trying to say it doesn't matter what they think or what I think. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm being submissive to God, and what he says is right and wrong, and I include that good and that bad part.
So in World War II, when we tried all of the German officers for crimes against humanity because they were just following orders and rejected that defense, were we right to do so? If you're just following God's orders, should we allow you to do that, or should we prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law?
Yes, I think we should. And what I'm getting at is, I and you may agree that doesn't make us right. And at the same time, we're still doing that. Ultimately, we don't want to.
Do you not kind of see there's the kind of an issue, like, at least because it sounds like you're saying, like, under no circumstance should like X occur, and you think that's true, right? But then foundationally, with the God you believe in, you're saying he has reasons to either allow or to condone those things, whether it be slavery or whatever thing you want to pick out. And that seems to be straightforward, like a contradiction, right? Because like that just contradicts.
Okay.
Like the only thing that you are doing, which is what Jim's getting at, is you're at a level of obedience, right? When I talk about morality, thinking about something I should or should not do, right? If God has reasons by your own lights to allow these certain things, or he thinks that they should be done, well, then that's what should be considered good by your standard. And you're having conflict with that. You're saying, I don't agree with that. Right. So instead, you now what you end up doing is defaulting to obeying. But that's not morality. You're like confusing morality and obedience.
Okay. And I want to say this because I'm not like trying to brush that off. I want to give an analogy because Jim is really good at either picking part or explaining the analogies better. This is a bad example, but this is the only thing I could think of. I'm coming from a perspective of if I'm on a football team and I've got a coach and he calls a play that I do not like for no reason at all, and I have a problem with it, but I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to run that play, and I'm not going to do it out of just blind ignorance. I believe that having God in your life brings a lot of positivity. So just like I would believe that my coach is calling the right play, sounds dumb, but we win a lot of games, and it works when we do what he tells us to do. So I'm going to put my head down, and I'm going to do what's asked. So I might be confusing morality with obedience, but that's the analogy I'm
All right, y'all. Rob is not here. He didn't show up, so I don't know. To be honest with you, his son, Grant, probably has a sports thing. I was going to make sure. I was going to check my email. Oh, yeah, I did check my email. I don't see anything from him, so I don't know. He might hit me up tomorrow or something. Like I said, I have to give a midterm on Wednesday. But we talked about it last week, so maybe last week he told me he wouldn't be here this week, and I just forgot. Boop, because I don't give no shits. All right, that's how I roll, y'all. I'm supposed to meet with somebody. I show up. I give it a good 5 minutes or so. Then I dip. If they hit me up, we could do it or reschedule. No big deal. Don't care. Let's get ready to rumble. Things are going to be important, but before we do this, let's get it ready to rumble thing. We're going to dive into that head first. So let me let this fuckface out. Fuckface hasn't been out all day, and he had breakfast this morning. So let me see if fuckface needs to go to the bathroom. These fucking A-list, fucking atheist, fucking dogs. These fucking Uncle Bobby understands the problem. I only got one. Uncle Bobby has 3 of these bitches. These motherfucking A-list, atheist, celebrity dogs. Oh, we want to see the Sam Cam. No Sam Cam today. I need my fucking phone. I want to play game. I got to do shit on this thing, man. You know, I got to get a whole nother camera for this one. I got to set up a fucking camcorder or something so there could be a permanent. Don't be smiling at me. Don't be smiling. Don't be smiling, Lynn. Don't be smiling. Don't be smiling when I'm talking shit about you. Oh, now you're going to bite me? Oh, now you're trying to bite me to protect me? No. None of that. No. You're the worst. You're the worst. It's fucking celebrity dogs. All right, so let me go walk this motherfucking celebrity dog real quick. And when I get back, we'll go get on Rumble and Parler and Truth Social or whatever the fuck these crazy people. We got to find some crazy people, y'all. I guess that's what we're doing. We're going to go look for crazy people. Why do I hate my life? Why do I do this to myself? BRB, mofos.
trying to bring up here is
because you're literally saying you think this is something you shouldn't do, and then you default to like, well, regardless of my attitude towards what I think is, you know, a moral fact, I just default to the fact that some mind says it, which by the way wouldn't be objective. It would just be subjective. All you're saying is God desires this thing or his nature is such a way, and that you're going to be in accord with that. But that's just like as subjective as me looking to my nature, right? And deciding what I think should be done. But you're just like actually removing your own agency from it, just saying I need to default to this thing. It doesn't actually matter about whether or not something was intrinsically wrong, whether there was a victim, whether someone was hurt. All of that, by your view, will just be washed away with the fact that all you have to do is ignore that, ignore the pain, the suffering, the commitments that are destroyed, relationships that are destroyed, and actually just favor the reasons that God has to have those things. And that seems absurd to me.
And what is God's game that he's trying to get us to win? What is that game? Because I'll go back to the analogy, not the analogy, but the reality of, German officers saying, hey, I was just following my orders. It's not my fault I gassed the Jews, right? That's not my fault. I was just following orders. And we said, that's not good enough. You have to exercise your own morals and your own ideas. And you say, well, it's to win a game. Well, they were doing that to win a war and to win some ideological battle they thought they were in. I mean, let's take it out of the game. Let's put it in reality. Do you think I was just following orders is a valid excuse for committing crimes against humanity?
No, me personally, I do not. And
then why would you follow a God who commands you to commit? Why would you follow a God that commands you to commit crimes against humanity and has in the past and seems perfectly capable of doing so in the future?
Because two quick answers. One, I'm not the head coach, and two, I feel like there's a lot of positive, but on top of all that negative that you're talking about, there's a lot of positive and there's a lot of winning that comes with following those orders. And I think we're doing that. I don't believe a soldier.
Winning what?
What was that?
Winning what?
When you're talking about the game analogy, winning what?
Yeah, winning what?
Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
When we're talking about serving him and being with him in the end, I don't think God wants anything else other than to be served. Because I will admit, it's definitely a narcissistic complex. I think he wants to be served more than anything, and to be with him in the end. And I when I brought up we still do that, I highly doubt the soldiers.
See,
when I say we still do that, I'm trying to say the soldiers in our very own country. I highly doubt that the people that they go and murder have walked in their front door and killed their family. They're following orders too, Jim. What's the difference? What's the difference? We just agree that they're doing the right thing. We believe that.
Because we have said that that shooting other soldiers and military equipment is okay, but shooting at civilians is not. There's a real subtle difference there, but there's a huge, huge difference when you're talking about the rules of war. And there are rules to war. If you're a soldier, you'd know. I was a soldier, and I can't quote them anymore because it was 30 years ago. But there are rules. There are things that we cannot do. We cannot fire 30 millimeter and 20 millimeter guns at people. We can only fire it at equipment because that's considered abuse. So there are rules to that war, and war is the exception. But, my specific example wasn't that. It was gassing innocent Jews for no other reason than the fact that they were of Jewish descent. Right?
Which I disagree with, yes.
Right. But you apparently want to hang out with people who are okay with that. You want to hang out with people who ordered Jews to go and commit the same types of crimes against the Canaanites and I forget the other two nations that they were told to commit genocide against.
The Amalekites.
The Amalekites, thank you. So you want to hang out with those folks? Apparently, I don't.
But we don't. But we don't have to even go back. We don't have to even go back that far. I love America, and I want to hang out with the folks that had people in slavery for years and built a country on their back. I still think America's the greatest country on the planet, but that doesn't mean they haven't done some really messed up stuff. And if somebody said, hey, you got to go defend this place, I would defend it. And I'd hang out with those people. Yeah, I would.
The problem I have is like you can't really even say it's messed up stuff if at the foundation, right at the offset, you're saying God has reasons to allow this. You're just saying that, presuming that you think God is a rational being and he makes rational decisions, right? If you're saying he had reasons to allow X, whatever thing that you think is evil, well, then by your lights, all things considered, that thing should occur, right? That thing should, because he has reasons to allow it. So when you want to make this like conflicting statement, like I think it's evil, no, because under your worldview, those things should happen. They're required for the plan, right? I mean, think of Pontius Pilate.
You're 100% correct.
Yeah, so
you're 100% correct, and me.
You need to.
Me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was my bad. You go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just trying to say you're 100% correct. And when Jim says you want to hang out with those people, I'm not trying to like wash my hands of what I'm saying right now makes it seem like, you know, you're going to sit in the back car while the people in the front seat go and do the drive-by. You're not going to shoot the gun, but you're going to sit in the back seat of the car and you're going to drive off with them. I just think we already do that. I don't think we have to go to thousands of years ago to point the finger to even bring that up. I think we're already doing that. And I promise you guys, I don't want to take up a bunch of time because I had a question about faith. Unless you want to add to that, I did want to get that question about faith out. So you guys,
why is it that your God doesn't seem to have anyone's desires or needs more than a human being would?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to try to play word games.
Is it more likely that God influenced those stories, or is it more likely those stories are just human stories?
I don't know. And I promise you, I'm not trying to get around that. I just feel like the way theists and a lot of believers look at God is not honest and tell the truth. In that, I think there are many great things.
Kevin, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt because Jim asked like a really important question, and if you say you don't know, then I don't know like in virtue of what is it raising the probability that you think it's more likely that that is a product of God, right? If you don't know and it's just on a par, right? Nothing's, or they're both trying to race, but no one's even moved off the finish line, let alone, or the starting line, let alone got to the finish line. Then why do you think one of them is winning the race? Right? Why do you accept the view?
To make sure I understand his question, he said, you know, is it more likely that these are human stories, or pretty much that God carried
out? It comes from God, yeah.
He put the thought behind these actions, right? And he's asked which one was more likely than the other. Okay, of course I could spend 10 minutes, you know, telling you why I think that is. You know, that reason would really just be my opinion at the end of the day, though. I think the bigger crux of the issue here is that
opinions are the reasons why you look what you furnish in your mind, looking to the world, right? What you think is evidence or arguments, all that stuff that furnishes your opinions or your beliefs, right? That's what you're presumably using as justifiers for thinking that it's true. But if Jim asks a question and you don't actually have something that raises the probability for it being on the God hypothesis versus the human-made hypothesis, then how could you be justified in accepting the God hypothesis?
Well, I would have to first accept the premise that God is real and that he does exist. And I have done that. So if I have to answer Jim's question,
but that would just beg the question, right? I mean, like I could just say God doesn't exist and it's more likely humans, and just not look at any of the data of religions or people making up stuff. And then I would be on the same boat as you. I would just be like, you know, I don't really care about doing the work. I'm just going to presuppose my answer and then start from there. It's like, well, I can do that with anything, literally anything. I can do that
you can do that. But the whole reason why I brought up this first topic was when I'm hearing about the negative things that the supposable God has done, and slavery probably being the worst of them all, which is why I use that as an example. I only brought that up to say that although I have an issue with that, and you too as well, it doesn't make a bit of the difference. And it doesn't make a bit of difference that if we feel like he's wrong in that aspect, okay, somebody could very well agree or disagree with me. And who's right seems to be like a never-ending cycle. So I don't see why that would be used as the only tipping point for why you wouldn't want to follow this being when there's a lot of positive that comes with it. And that's why I use the analogy of country.
Look, I don't think me or Jim are concerned about utility. If like the lucky sock drawer gives me good days or makes me play basketball really good, like that's great, but that adds nothing to preserving the truth value, right? Doesn't make it true, doesn't preserve it being true. Nothing about that gains us access to it being true. It's just like it's utility for your mind, right? But I can do that with anything. I mean, before if I play like a show with a band or something and I'm nervous, I do things in my head to bring me down. I don't really understand like what that makes, how that reflects of anything true in reality, right? It only reflects things going on in your head.
No. I was hoping we didn't, because I know you guys got a long line. I didn't even get to the second thing I want to talk about. But calling you guys today had nothing to do with proving the existence. Calling you guys today was to shine a spotlight on the fact that we're asking questions as to why would you follow a God that would do this or allow that. But you're standing on soil that does different things and does this and allows that, and we're not saying a word about it. But it's not because it's so horrible. It's because there's a lot of great that comes with it as well. So if we're going to use that spectrum and that ruler for him, why not use it for the very soil you stand on too? That's where I get lost. That's the only reason I call.
Because my subjective goal of happiness for the human race, the entire population, is a better goal than anything your God can come up with. I can base all of that on science. We could also use well-being. I'm perfectly okay with saying well-being. There are things that we can do that we don't need to follow your immoral God and do immoral things in the hope that we can do that good comes out of it, right? And that just doesn't make any sense. You can't. The ends do not justify the means ever. And that's basically what you're saying, is the ends justify the means. And no, they don't. You can do good stuff without believing in God or without following God. You can still do perfectly good stuff, and you can make your own choices. I suspect you're more moral than your God. Why would you follow anybody or any being that is less moral than you?
Yeah, and it's not like when you want to say it leads to a greater good, then that's a good thing, right? You can't say it's evil. It should occur. All things considered, that should occur. Any action, right? Any action where there's some negative consequence, vaccinations or whatever it might be, where the kids are scared, right? That they won't want to get pricked. Well, we allow pricking of a child, right? Because it leads to not having polio. It leads to a greater good. And so you can just put this in a notion of all things considered. When we consider everything relevant to the situation, it was a good thing. What I'm trying to say is, on your view, you just don't even have evil. It doesn't seem like, because it's just, if you want to say the ends is justified by the means, then those things should occur. I don't really see how you could have evil in your view. They're required for the greater good.
I get it. In the same time, I just wanted to kick the whole faith thing to the curb. And if y'all want to respond to this is the last thing that I wanted to say. We still have not addressed ourselves. And when I'm bringing that up, and I hate to be repetitive, but when I say we haven't addressed ourselves, is good or evil in our life right now, whoever's listening all over the world, I can point to any time and current events of things that are going on that myself and people that I may even disagree with would find to be completely unmoral and wrong. But they're not going to jump up and start a revolution. They're going to continue to live their lives while they have all these conflicting issues, because not everything is horrible. There are some things as to why they're not rebelling and why they're not going against. Some people are rebelling, obviously, but majority of us are not. And that's just the example I'm using. I know it might be on a nuclear scale when it comes to God, but there's no difference when it comes to this is wrong and I don't agree with this, but I'm going to put my head down and I'm not going to say anything, because there's a lot of other positive things that come behind it.
All right, we gotta move on, but I'm just going to ask you two questions before we move on. Do you think that God could have created us in such a way where we all freely do good like he does?
I have no idea. I'm not going to lie and make up an answer. I don't know.
Let's say it is possible, right? Let's say there's no contradiction and it is possible he could have made that world. But from your view, you're saying he decided to create a different world with injustices, evil, sin, right? And there's a reason he does that, right? The reason is for the greater good, for the plan to come in fruition. It's required. Do you see why like an atheist like myself would go, whoa, okay, all things considered, he could have created a world where we freely did good, possibly. We can't identify a contradiction. Instead, he created this other world with like holocausts and horrible things. And once you break that down, you go, wow, okay, He had prevailing reasons to have such a world with those things because it's foundational. It needs to occur, right? That's why he didn't choose the other world. And so what I want to say is that I don't know how there could even be evil in your view.
But the example you just used, I could just turn around and say we have the ability to feed every hungry person in America, but somebody would die of starvation tonight. Why would we allow that? That's
a really good question. What's the difference? That's a question for society to answer. But your God has the power to do that all on his own. He doesn't have to convince 260, 300 million people or 3 billion people to do it, right? He just decided to do it on his own, and he doesn't. Which is why I say you are more moral than your God. And I still have to ask the question, and I was going to end it with this. Why would you follow someone or something less moral than yourself as an example to follow? Doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, Kevin, thank you for your call. Appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, call back in about the faith thing. I'm sorry we couldn't get to it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the time, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, I wanted to get to the faith thing, but yeah, it was a good call. It's just sometimes it's hard to get to two things in call sometimes because you're so focused on like one, the first call for as long as you do. Well, hopefully we'll have him call in. That'll be the case. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware to check out all the other shows. That
What's up, everybody?
Secular Sexuality. Which starts on
James, are you in Gather? Cameron was saying you wanted to talk about that science video. I really liked it. Yeah, hop on up in Gather, James, if you're around. I had to leave for a second so that I could get into those meetings. Let me get back in Gather, show you guys. My setup's a little bit weird. Why am I looking at Sambot's screen? I'm on the wrong device here. Oh, nope. Oh, because Sambot's screen has that on it. Never mind. All right, this is MyronBot. Let's go out here to map view. MyronBot does... Oh, I had him muted the whole time. Oh, yeah, actually I did want him muted because I was doing the meeting. And the TV was coming from the other bot. All right, so in 5.6... out to voice meter, which basically just means nowhere. Unmute him there. Now MyronBot can play stuff, although I haven't been doing anything for MyronBot. All right, I was sharing my screen from there. That's fine. Let me go back in here. That's a bad example, guys. That's me being bad here. Should always check your settings first. So it should go here, say 3.4. 3.4. That's what we want. Go ahead and unmute it. I'm going to do this camera. There's that. All right, let's join the gathering. It's just so that my avatar's in here. And, yeah. Oh, yeah, I also need to do that flippy camera thingy. Hey, Dave, what's up? Just got here, was watching Paula G's new video. Cool. Yeah, I thought they were having a really great conversation with this guy, and he's just sort of dancing around the issue here that there's just no reason to worship this God as some source and authority on morality. Just seems to be silly. I don't know why I keep saying I'm a guest. I don't know what that means. Let me change my status here. Live, Pocket Locker, 86. Yeah, I don't know. I saw James in chat. I was hoping maybe James would call in if he gets a chance. No, it's not on your end. Cameron, you should be able to... Wait, no, hang on. All right, now you should be able to hear... No, wait, hang on. Dude. All right, now you should be able to hear me and gather. And then I'll make sure that's right. I'll make sure that's right. That should be good. And then let's cross these for now. So we'll send the com. Now we'll leave that for now. All right. Should be good. Should be good. Yep, Cam and Teddy can hear me. Great. All right. Awesome. All right. Let's get ready to fucking rumble. Go here. Rumble is now public and listed on NASDAQ. Cool. Sign in. Can I sign in with Google? It's not seeming to let me do that. All right. Apple ID works. Facebook works. Google does not. Let's see if I've got a password here. Nope. Free. Let's see. Go over here while I do this. Oh, what's my username gonna be? Hunter Biden's laptops. Must only contain letters or numbers and no spaces. Hunter Biden. I almost kind of want to go with like Pocket Locker 86 to make it easy for these fools to find me on YouTube. Because it's kind of weird, because if I do this, yeah, I kind of want to do that, probably. All right. And password. Cool. I'm going to put in my birthday. All right, now I got to check my email to activate my account. Also, I put in the damn wrong email. All right, let's activate it. Account's been verified. Account overview. Damn, they're all about the grift. First thing that pops up is money. Yeah, I just want to go with that. Wait, no. New email, yeah. That way it'll go to my Pocket Locker account. Who knows what kind of shit I'll get on here. Update it. Old and new accounts for further instructions. All right. Confirmed it from one account. I think I gotta go confirm it from both the accounts. You know what? I kind of somewhat respect the right wingers, you know, grift. It's a little bit annoying, but it's sort of like, you know, they do get to play with their persecution complex. So there, that's done. Should be able to sign in with Google now. Final step, my name. Go with that. Gotta put in my birthday again. It's a lot. All right. All right, we're in. So now, what the heck is a Rumble, y'all? It looks like it's a live streaming platform. There's supposed to be an ad here. Close ad.
Not for the purposes of laying criminal charges. No.
Okay. Is it fair to say that
Why is it
PPS
coming out
officers
two
do
places?
not have nearly the same kind of
Oh,
training
somebody's
that
not muted.
police
Hang on a
officers
sec.
have?
It would be unfair for me to comment on that. I'm not sure of the
So
curriculum
let's
of
say.
the Parliamentary Protective Services
Wait,
training.
hang on a sec. This is Myronbot.
That's
We've got to
fair.
mute
But
everybody here.
at least to your knowledge, you're not aware of PPS officers attending
We're gonna
anything
mute
that's
Sambot.
equivalent to Ontario Police College.
Oh no, I am aware that there is extensive training that's provided to
Mute
Parliamentary
Myronbot.
Protective Services. I can't comment on what the content of it is, but I do absolutely know that they are trained.
Okay. So my understanding is that the Parliamentary Protective Service, their jurisdiction over Parliament Hill, subject to what we just talked about of them kind of needing assistance from other policing partners. Otherwise, their jurisdiction is actually exclusive. Is that fair?
Into the parliamentary precinct, yes.
Correct. Okay. And so unless PPS invites the Ottawa Police Service to come and respond to an issue on Parliament Hill, your Ottawa Police Service officers are not, conducting routine patrols in the area.
So we actually don't need an invitation.
So do we have
if
to
we're
live stream
called
on
upon to
Rumble?
provide
What
police
the heck?
jurisdiction responsibilities.
Let's see.
But
Go live. Go to rumble.com/live or click set up a new live stream button above. Upload a placeholder video up to 60 seconds long, which will be looped before the stream starts. Once this placeholder is uploaded, we will provide you with a streamer configuration that consists of a stream URL and a stream key. Oh, okay. So maybe we could just add these to our Restream or something? Enter the configuration in your streaming software, yeah. To stream with Rumble, you will require streaming software. Rumble is compatible with all providers that use RTMP, including OBS, StreamYard, Restream, and many others. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, that's easy enough. I thought it was just like rooms, though. All right, so what are the other ones? Parlor? Is Parlor the one with like audio discussion rooms? But yeah, let's get this Rumble shit set up. We said let's get ready to rumble. Fuck it, let's get ready to rumble, and we'll be good. 60-second long, a placeholder video. Oh, y'all, we got to get 100 subs. What, I got to upload videos otherwise? Oh, Lord. Or pay. What's a paid account? Unlimited live streaming is $10 a month. I mean, honestly, it's not that bad. And ad-free viewing. $10 a month. Yeah, because I'm not going to get out here any other way. First off, how the hell am I going to get 100 subscribers on Rumble? There's no way I got 100 people on Rumble. There's no way I'm ever going to upload videos, so fuck it. $10 a month, we can do that. Add card. Let me go privacy screen. All right, boom, put in my stuff. Security code. Sure. All right, address. Let's put that in. I should do this. This way, those that really determined motherfuckers can't even see me type. Like, I don't know if you're that hardcore, you're probably gonna figure out where I live pretty easily. All right, let's add the card. Postal code is incomplete. Oh, I don't know the full. You're not gonna take that. You want the full postal code? Y'all are weird. I was gonna say, does everybody else go through this? I guess if not, if you don't want to upload. What's the full postal code? All right, hang on. Let me put this in. Oh, no. I see what it is. I didn't put the postal code in the card information. I got it. Okay. Yep. All right. Thanks for your payment. Boom. All right. Now, We gotta select a placeholder video. Ooh, hang on a sec. Let me see. I don't think I have much, but let's see what we got. Ear channel. Wait, playlist. Let's go there. Any good? Yeah, we'll use this one.
Ready? Ready for takeoff?
This is Myron, the flying man. I fly for your sins. As it was foretold by the prophets, I flew unaided over the Grand Canyon. The flying man. I did this so that you might not believe in any gods. And yes, the flying man is black. That's why my descendant Doug likes the Negro lady. Boom. Science bless you all. Boom. All right. Fuck out of here. I don't know where that video is though. Is it on here? Oh Lord. I just did something that didn't like. Cancel. All right. Here. Media studio. Myron, there it is. Thumbnails. Choose your own. Thumbnails. Oh, my thumbnails are all on my other computer. Let's see. I brought over some pictures. Studio images, maybe pictures. I can go with these. Yeah, let's go with this. All right.
Hey Jay, how's it going?
What up, Lena?
Sorry I'm late. I got called into work this morning.
Nah, no worries. I'm just literally getting my Rumble set up. Let me see. I'm not sharing.
$10 a month?
I'm not sharing my screen back there. I know, the grift, right? they grift you even just to counter grift. You gotta give up some money just to explain that people are being taken for their goddamn money. Hey, I ain't gonna hate the player, hate the game, you know?
What about calling into like chat rooms or?
That's what I was hoping this was to do, but then I figured if this is easy enough, I'll just start to add Rumble to my restream and then see if Rumblers start to call in or watch.
Okay.
But yeah, we could still figure out what's up in Clubhouse, Parlor. I don't know. What do people think? Truth Social? Truth. I think Truth Social is supposed to be like Twitter, right? Because that's what happened. Donald Trump got banned from Twitter, so we had to make his own. Rumble's starting to feel like it's alt-right YouTube or something like that. But
it's Twitter. It's basically Trump Twitter.
Let's say I want to go live. Stream as myself. Stream title. Let me just go with what I had for today. Actually, stream title is going to be just testing out Rumble. And I'm going to put in parentheses. Should I put like atheist, leftist, atheist? Ooh, wait. Hey. I'm left-handed, right? So what about atheist lefty? You like that, Lena?
Wait, I was doing a troll name. I thought. Wait, did I do a troll name for True Social? You're talking about, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about for the stream, like the title. I put atheist lefty in parentheses.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, because I'm an atheist and I'm a lefty. You know, take it how you want.
You'll lose a lot of clicks with that.
Oh, so you think I shouldn't put that?
I think you should do a troll. Yeah, I think you should do the troll name all the way, and we'll get as many right wingers as we can. Because we're not gonna make any.
But if they
growth on these otherwise.
So you think we just gotta name them? Because as soon as they start watching, they're gonna realize we're not right wingers.
Yeah, well, that might piss them off. Because they're like, oh wow, they're just trying to like pretend to be on the right, and then they're actually leftists. I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about both. Right now, we'll go outward, and then if it doesn't work, we'll change up, and then we'll go undercover. Boom.
All right.
Experiment, or you try undercover with yours. You know what I mean? Let's experiment. Everybody get in here and try some shit. Also, what should I do? Should I do a normal? Let's do a normal description. Which my descriptions are hella long. Hang on, let me. I'll send it to myself via Discord. Yeah, we're just gonna go in like we're just gonna treat Truth Social like it's another Pocket Locker platform. Sorry, we're gonna treat Rumble like it's another Pocket Locker 86 platform. Pocket Locker 86 had Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. All right, you know, that's just how we get down. You know, and then we'll see what happens. Oh man, this could go good. This could go really bad. We could have a whole army of troll hate watchers soon.
They will never leave us. We're constantly having a reban.
Seriously. All right.
Did you follow Joel? Did you make the account yet? When you do, follow Joel Todd. He's out here with.
Oh, he's already over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
He's already making
head waves. Wait, he's on Truth Social.
Mm-hmm.
All right, where am I? God, I don't even know where these files are at anymore. Save as D documents stream notes. Okay. Documents, stream notes. All right, dailies. What?
Oh, here we go. Display name. And do.
I gotta go in the daily probably. There we go. 10/24/22. That's the days. Send it. Let me throw a Hootsuite up in there too. In case I need a template for that at some point. All right, nice. All right, now let me take my screen, my camera, because I gotta pull up my Discord. I just want to make sure I don't pull up anything discreet on my Discord. All right. Boom. Get the description. All right.
Oh, that's
Are
weird.
we-
Rumble has their own.
Is that James?
Account on Truth Social.
It is.
I think that's James.
What's up,
Hey,
James? How's it going?
Hey. It is me.
How's your day?
How's your day going? Yeah.
All right, so I work with a channel called Skeptic Haven, which is part of like Tang and stuff like that. And they have got this one guy that's like prominent in their network called Oz, and he's just released an R&B album of his own. They wanted me to co-host, and I'm like, I'd be such a poser in that role because it's not my jam. I'm not a musician. I'm not like, it's just not like my groove usually.
Right.
But then I started thinking, if we could find somebody that also wanted some publicity, that wanted to go on there, and maybe they send him a link and he sends them a link, or I can send the links, check out each other's music, and then schedule a time to go on stream to talk about their music. That could be fire. And so I'm wondering if your cousin might be interested in something.
Yeah, I was just thinking OG Roddy would be great. Yeah, I'm sure he would be. Yeah, appreciate that. Let's, if you want to just send me something on either Facebook or Discord.
Yeah, I can do that.
To follow up, I'll do that.
All right, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you thinking of us like that.
In the meantime, what are you guys getting ready to do? Like, you gonna start some shit somewhere?
We're trying to get some accounts going on these other platforms. I just feel like it's really hard to engage with the other side, right? And we're sort of, I think, stuck with, I would either say bad faith or almost bottom rung actors exclusively. And if, I'd like to find some new people, and if not offer some variation in the quality, at least some variation in the identity. Because I don't know if YouTube's the right way to go, right? It seems like, go where they're at.
Right.
I don't know that means, again, I think every strategy is a low yielding one. So I don't think it magically solves all your problems, but.
Well, what's our goal?
Just to try to interact with some other people, have more people that could call in and stuff. I almost wish people, now that I really don't care what Doug thinks, I almost wish like more people would just go to Doug's like Theist Thursday and just start poaching off theists to call our channels.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So, a lot of times that's what I do, but I'm like, look, I need help with that. When I go into a semi-popular channel or a popular channel, I need someone from our group to go with me, and like wait to the right time and say, "Hey, you had a great stream last night, James," or "We really had fun on Jay's channel last night."
Yes, exactly. I keep trying to tell people it's more powerful when somebody in the comment section of the chat does it, because it's it's like that pre-selection, right? It's that hot girl that says, that's all up on you just so all the other girls will pay attention, right?
Right.
And then also it kind of gets around you looking like the self-promoter, right? Yeah, so I agree, and I encourage people, to do that. So one idea, James, was that the Discord sort of live now channel under community was meant to facilitate that sort of thing, with the idea being if people have the notifications on for that particular Discord channel, then the idea is that's the place to let us know who's live when they're live.
Right.
So then there's, a greater effort of us going there, and then people saying, oh, James is in the chat. Oh, everybody, you should really check out James. But then, some of this stuff with the callers might require a little bit more follow-up, whether they're in the chat before or after they call in, that type of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I used to be kind of like, let's not poach there because it could get problematic. And now I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Somebody's not helping, we might as well help ourselves.
Right. So yeah, that's the way to do it. Just go in there, become relevant, And so I need to also start like being a regular, like active person in the chat of the channels that I want to draw people from. So
Yes.
because if I just jump in there and I'm a nobody, they're not going to care. So that's what I tell everybody. Pick a channel that you think would have great people for our community. Take 10 minutes even just out of every day. Spend 10 minutes just being there, being relevant, right? Get noticed.
Yeah.
Say hi to people that seem to matter.
Yeah.
And then after you're kind of accepted, then bring someone else in and just have them start a chat conversation with you that's kind of pre-scripted, where you guys are simply talking about, quote unquote, where we had a great stream over at Jay's channel or James's channel.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. And I've been doing things like thinking about things like this even for instance, Carrie Ann watches a lot of UK based channels, which is good because in order to grow something like the overnight crowd or the late night crowd, you actually want to be starting to deliberately interact with channels that are in that time zone, right? Because if you're always thinking America late night, then you're gonna get fucking EA Dawa and LPP and again bottom of the barrel people who are lurking, on the internet.
Yeah, America's the internet's garbage can. We really need to start shopping somewhere else.
Yeah, and if you take that same time zone, but now you say I'm gonna target halfway across the world where it's noon. Or it's, you know what I'm saying? Now you're getting their sort of better crowd, right? Because it's a better hour, it's more reasonable people, it's and then again it's outside that same paradigm. So it's this is the way to do other platforms, but it's also the way to do other channels and other time zones and stuff, right? I don't know what tags to put in. I'm just going to put an atheist, Christian, politics.
Yeah, I think my idea with this is to make content for atheists going into these spaces. Like, we're not actually trying to grow off of Rumble or Truth Social, but we're trying to make good content that atheists will enjoy and then grow off of those channels.
Yeah, I think so. And then if you have some sort of traction there that helps make that easier because you're getting more callers or whatever, then fine.
Yeah, because people really like what Danny's doing on TikTok with the call-ins. I think people really like.
I just don't have the numbers to get the TikTok, but I guess I got to just start, I don't know, doing something else. But yeah, that I would love to do that.
Yeah, and Rumble's something else, and you give it a first month, $10, and see if the atheist community responds to it, and we'll try and get the community to really push the promoting, like James is saying, these tactics of community building are really important. I'm glad you mentioned that.
All right, my licensing options. Rumble only, monetized, non-exclusive, similar to YouTube, personal use, not monetized, not searchable, available to all your subscribers. No, let's go Rumble only, I guess. Monetized, yeah, it says it's non-exclusive, so...
It's funny that they call it Rumble only, as if you can't also upload it to other places.
You retain full control and all rights. Rumble will be granted a non-exclusive license for the Rumble video player and provides 60% of the net advertising revenue.
Is that so they can take you out of context and cut out parts and stuff?
No, I just think that's probably their. Why is it not letting me read
That's
the
typical
terms? It's hard to click on that. They're read the full terms here. I can't read the full terms.
Yeah, they don't want you to. They don't want you to see the fine print.
Who appears in this live stream? You have not signed an exclusive agreement. right, none of that's about the exclusivity thing. All right, submit. Please reload the page. Okay.
Yeah, James, I think you should do this with us too, because I think you have a fantastic approach, and I think I don't know how well you'd be able to handle conversations with crazy right-wingers, but I feel like you would do a good job at it.
And that's who we want to lure in, huh? Crazy right-wingers?
No,
or
that
not
we want
crazy,
to make
but
content
go ahead.
of us basically shutting down right-wingers in a nice way, right?
Yeah.
For atheists as atheist content.
So I do think one of the things that we have over, say, the bigger streamers is I don't want to deconstruct bigger content creators, but maybe then again I do, because, you know, I'm trying to do the same thing to grow, right? If you notice, I take on more big name political figures or big name apologists, you know, make some more shit about Jordan Peterson, talk about Kanye and Candace Owens. Again, that stuff gets a lot of exposure because it's a hot button issue. There's a much broader audience than talking about Otangelo or Rebecca, right? Or Sal. But at the same time, there's a ton of competition. So I try to balance that. And even most of my streams, I try to think of as a funneling. What I really want people to do with me during the day is maybe rock out and I got to work or do some Avita or read a book or something. You know, something you want to do, James. You want to talk about religion or relationships or whatever's on your mind. But I use something a bit broader, maybe relevant to the community to have a personal hook. You know, Tangela sucks, Sal sitting on some bullshit. Let's talk about James's stream for the other day, whatever. And then I try to start with something all the way out. Let's talk about Trump, Kanye, Candace Owens, right? That way, if you're new or only want to talk about bigger things, there's sort of a podcast built into my daily stream where early on or at some point we're going to talk about something big or broadly appealing, you know? And then narrow it down to Otangelo, something in our community, and then narrow it down to what the fuck I feel like doing. And you know you might lose people at every step of that funnel, right? Mm-hmm. But you also might broaden your appeal a little bit. So, but the thing I was basically going to say about this is the thing that we have over those bigger channels is, I don't know if people realize this, but they're built off of bigger apologists. You know, you could say in a sense, the Kent Hovens and Ken Hams of the world made Paula Gia famous, right? And Pine Creek made his name off of, you know, deconstructing big preachers, right?
Yeah, so
and
we should deconstruct some big people too, then.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I've got a lineup.
So that's the first part, is that's the formula they use, right? Let's face it, right? You wouldn't know who they were unless they were talking about Ken Ham and Kent Hovind and William Lane Craig and Jordan Peterson, because you wouldn't have glammed onto it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the dirty part that I don't think enough people acknowledge. And I think that's what makes us great, is that we have built what we've built without necessarily focusing on that. We focused on our own shit. But what we have from a content perspective over them is, even though we dealt with these smaller name apologists, Sal, Rebecca, Otangelo, on, bless be he, whoever the troll of the week is, we actually interact with these motherfuckers, right? That's what I kept telling Uncle Bobby. When I sold our community Uncle Bobby, I didn't say, oh, we've got 10,000 subscribers and we'll make you famous overnight, right? I just said to him, the people you talk about, like he makes his videos, right? Let me talk about fuckface Frank Turek and this fuckface this and fuckface that and these right wingers. I said, man, we actually talk to these motherfuckers on a regular, right? That's why it was so great the first time he called in, you know, he got on the call with Otangelo, right? And it was immediately magic, right? Because it was, you know, Uncle Bobby, right? It was just right away, you know? But I think he got that. Like, that's what's cool about us, is we don't have the biggest name and we don't deal with the biggest names, but there's this real like, we're really in the trenches with these people, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think,
go ahead. Cancel Bread of Life. Go on.
Yeah, I think that's great, right? We got to add to our hit list. Yeah, but go ahead, James.
Yeah, Rebecca's still hovering. She's still lurking around. She was on BS's stream a couple nights ago. Not the
Did
stream,
she
but
say
she was in chat. She just said hi to me.
Yeah, that's fine.
She's around. She'll be back. Like, she's just this whole... She just wanted to see what people say about her leaving.
I think so.
She knew she needed a break, and she figured she might as well milk it to kind of, you know...
Yes. And she also may need to do some things differently. She may want to shift away from Sal, change her tone up, you know.
Maybe.
Listen, we do this in wrestling all the time. Here's what I do. I say, James, you just had a great run. You know, you became the fucking Intercontinental Champion, but then we had to try to make the next star, so you had to drop the title to them. You know, but now you're a bit beat up, right?
Yeah.
You got some nagging injuries. And you're a bit exposed. You've been featured on every pay-per-view for the last 2 years. You've been on weekly television every fucking week. So what we do is we just tell you, go away. We're going to pay you. You're not going to not get paid, right? We're just not going to put you on TV for 3 fucking months. Go away for 90 days. You're thrilled as a wrestler. Why? 'Cause you get to go the fuck home. See your kids. Go to a baseball game. You know, watch wrestling on TV for once, right? You know, like, you're just happy to go the fuck home. And what we're doing is we're just letting the audience kind of get cold to you a bit, kind of, you know, not talk about you as much, right? And then we're just going to bring you back. Maybe you switch. Maybe you go from bad guy to good guy or good guy to bad guy. And we call it repackaging. We'll give you a new gimmick, new badass attitude, right? And then we're going to wait for a strategic spot to bring you back so you can jump in the middle of some storyline unexpectedly. It'll make your grand return in the middle of a pay-per-view and shit like this. And that's what Rebecca's doing, right? She's just going to go home for a little bit, you know, stop doing the dailies, the weeklies, come back with a new repackaging, and everybody going, oh, we missed you so much, right? The crowd goes, it's a big pop, right? The crowd goes, oh my God, I haven't seen him in 30 days, holy shit, you know, and you're crazy because you haven't seen the person. So I think that's what she'll do. She'll go away for a couple months, get a big pop when she comes back. Everybody will be happy to see her and excited to see where she's moving next. So it could be a good strategy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
She'll, you know, it's whatever. Everybody's got their own way they're trying to, you know, strategize and playing around it. She's not done with YouTube, and neither are we. So
right.
At least, you know, and at some point, if I need to kind of like bow out for a little while and then make a comeback later, I'm cool with doing that.
I think everybody not only you should plan on it, right?
Yeah.
Because there is burnout. There is life changes, new relationships, new jobs, you never know what the sickness, unfortunately, you never know what the circumstances might be. And it's like I said about drumming. There's this sort of attitude you have when you're younger where it's like you can never not be active or never not be practicing. You're literally insecure about it. You feel like you'll lose it and you'll never, you know, get it back. But that's not really sustainable throughout life unless you're like the top level professional or whatever the fuck, or super, super active. And if you insist on it, you'll throw your life down the tube, right? Because you'll never take some amazing opportunity in life because it could fuck up with your gig or whatever, right? So instead, you've got to learn what it means to do this for life is sometimes I got to put it away for a little while or put it to the back burner or not dedicate as much time to it. And then the skill is when I come back to it, learning how to pick it back up, right? So now you're learning how to stream consistently, make good content, figure out community building, all the blazes and the glavinoids, and if you had to take a break, then you would just say, okay, now the skill is turning that back on, right? And then once you get to that place of, oh, I can turn this on and off as I need to, then you're kind of good permanently because you're not going to burn yourself out because you know what it feels like and you know how to deal with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was like me. Like I did 100 days in a row. I broke it. Didn't plan to. It was just we were hanging out on your stream late that night. You know, didn't feel like going live, and then it was fine. But you know, I'm not worried about burning out because I've left the channel dormant for a couple years when I needed to. So I know I will if I have to.
Yeah.
Are we cool? I think everybody's done hashing the other day with Johnny, right? Like everybody's gone over that back and forth. James, I don't know if you had anything else to say about that, because I know people said you wanted to talk to me about that science, atheism, and creationism video. I kind of want to go on to that, but
I wish I'd known about that video back when people were like, the controversy was hot about your how you dealt with Hovind, because that's exactly the right thing. Like, it's exactly what we were saying, but in different terms. Like,
sure.
The right way to deal with that is to show up wearing a clown outfit, and then the people who are mentally astute and understand what's happening, they're going to understand, and everybody else is just going to be confused, and that is what happened.
Right.
But it's like, it's perfect, right? But
yeah. I was appreciative of that, and I think that sometimes, like I said, it was one of the few things I did where I didn't really have any regrets, and I kind of accepted, what it was. But there's been a lot of those opportunities since then. So I've, got to share Rob's lecture when we started our course this semester, and he was on the same shit, right? I gave the 10-minute version, he gave the 90-minute version. But he was saying the same things. When I've read from his book, it's been on the same tip. There's been a couple other philosophy of science things that have come up. And and that video was on it. And I even stopped to talk about the clown thing and everything when I saw that. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And it definitely feels like for those that, one, were paying attention at the time, or two, have been paying attention since, right? Mm-hmm. They're now saying, oh, okay, that was strategery, even if people didn't get it at the time. And I think it was a combination of things. One, people didn't get, like you said, going in the clown suit, which I did, was you just, if you're going to take criticism for taking this seriously, then you just can't take it that seriously, or else, they're never going to let that go.
Right, and they don't understand that it's hurting our community's interests to take it seriously. If we treat it with legitimacy, we legitimize it.
Yes. At the same time, I don't think we can ignore it.
No,
right?
We can't ignore
and
it.
That's where I think we failed, and I would say science even more so than the community, right? Atheists deal with creationism, right? They're not afraid to get in. It's the scientists who are saying, I can't do this, right? But that is a problem, because they're not going to stop with their holy war because you've decided to ignore it. And then the other thing is, it scares me personally.
How so?
Because I was a really reasonable Christian. And somewhere along the way, really, in college and thinking deeply and having crazy professors in my life, literally Sam Richards and Rich Doyle, like radical minds, right? I just almost, it feels like miraculously worked my way out of that nonsense. But I was so dangerously close, right? Like, I love being a Christian. It was a huge part of my identity. I worked at a church when I took years off from school. I almost didn't return to college so I could keep working at a church, right? Like, I would have been the Christian prosecutor, community organizer, liberal as fuck, smoking weed, fucking white bitches, and still a cool dude. But what scares me is I would have been, again, the liberal, theistic evolutionist, pro-science, all of that person. And so nobody would have bothered counter-apologizing me.
They wouldn't have bothered, right?
They wouldn't have bothered, right. They would have said, Jay, are you pro-Trump? Fuck no. Are you anti-vax? No. Do you think the earth is 6,000 years old? Nope. Do you think it's possible that Jesus didn't even exist? Absolutely. Do you still claim to be a Christian? Yeah. Oh, is that mostly some cultural bullshit? Yeah. All right, have a nice day. See you later. Right? Like, you would not have bothered. So when people kind of give that flavor of Christianity a pass, I'm going, look, I get that they're not the extremists that you're worried about, but that was me. And that's basically people telling me, hey, I'm not going to press the truth on you, because your worldview doesn't bother me. So they have a selfish reason, right? They're not deciding that what I think is true or reasonable or good. They're just deciding like, Jay, you sitting on some bullshit, but don't bother me enough personally, so I'm going to just ignore it, right? And I know that that's not people's attitude. That's not what they're saying intentionally, but that's how I feel, right? And then when people ignore the creationists, and they go, oh, you can't engage the creationist, or don't debate people's religion and shit like that. I'm going, but there's millions of me's in that congregation who no one will tell them that this thing is not true. And they didn't wake up in the morning deciding they don't want to be scientists, or they don't want to be engineers, or they want to believe the historicity of something that isn't true. Whatever it happens to be. So we've got to do it remembering that there are victims in all of this. Go ahead.
What could someone have said to you years earlier when you were still a Christian, or even 1 year earlier while you were still a Christian?
Sure.
What could someone have said to you? How could they have said it, and in what setting would you have seen it, where they could have said something that would have brought you out of it earlier?
Honestly, from the right voice, it would have just been a simple suggestion of, I don't think it's true and you should look into it. This is what actually scares me about the people we deal with in this community, because I want to say something about being educated. And it's something fundamental. It isn't about how many degrees you have, what university did you go to, what discipline are you. It almost makes me think of athletics. There are some people in my family who could have been great college basketball players in terms of size, athleticism, and skill, right? But they would not have made it because they weren't coachable. When we talked to them in high school, you were the biggest body on your team and you put up the right numbers, but you were always telling us why coach didn't call the right play, why practice doesn't, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you flip that with somebody like Tahir, who nowadays is a coach, right? He was the coach on the floor. He was his coach's extension, right? He was an extension of his coach, right? He was, and he practiced that way, and that's a huge difference, right? And what bothers me is that these people are not coachable. When we literally say to them, dude, you're wrong. This is demonstrably wrong. For some reason, they don't take that as a personal call to action to check themselves. So literally with me, it's like I really trusted my advisors. They taught me I was wrong about so many things, and gently, kind of in their own way, led me away from Christianity, right? Some of them, it was through showing me I could get in touch with spirituality through meditation and other means, and then get the benefits reliably. Some of it was challenging the claims that I was really getting this morality from Christianity, right? But yeah, I really did respect people enough. So a perfect example is I started thinking about the historicity of Jesus, and I'd always accepted that if he was real, he was probably just a person, and it could just be a fucked up story that people made up after the fact, right?
Right.
But when I really started to look into, was there really a historical Jesus? And I kind of Googled around. I remember coming across some atheist materials, but I just accepted it. I just really I was reading it, and I was saying, okay, they haven't proven to me that Jesus didn't exist, but like you always say, they've proven to me that the case hasn't been made convincingly. Mm-hmm. And that there's real holes in the story. Okay, there's no first-hand eyewitnesses. There's no, the Gospels weren't written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They weren't documented till later. Mm-hmm. Now, since then, I've had that knowledge reiterated in this community and on YouTube, and even to some extent firsthand, because some of our content features scholars who can attest to that evidence, because it's their field of fucking study, right? Mm-hmm. But I already knew it by then. But my point is, even before then, I accepted it, because that's what you do when you want to learn. Somebody tells you you don't know something, you're like, holy shit, let me go figure that out. So I think a huge part of my encourageability is that I was coachable. If one of my advisors or my teacher said I didn't get something right, I tried to figure it out. Matter of fact, I'll tell you who I was in class, James, and it annoyed some of my classmates. I was the student when we took an exam. A lot of my classmates were happy if they passed, or happy if they got a B, right? I was the student who recognized when a teacher announced the distribution and they said one student got this score or two students got this score, that I had the highest score in the exam in the whole class. Right?
Awesome.
Now, on the regular, right? Now, most students who passed or got a decent grade do what? Put the exam in their bag and never think about it again, right?
Right.
Who was I? I was the one student who stayed after class to talk to the professor. Why? Because I wanted to know what I missed on the one question I missed.
Mm-hmm.
And if I missed 2 or 3 questions, I don't give a fuck that I got the best score in the class. I'm devastated because, again, I've prepared everything. I've been at every lecture. I've studied everything. It's not acceptable for me to just be not getting shit.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't look at it right away and go, oh fuck, I see, I should have been B because I got confused when I read that question. Fuck me, right? If I'm really still like looking it over and I don't know, like, man, look, you got to tell me what the fuck is up. And then the professor explains it to you, blah 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 blah. He's like, oh shit, you're right. Ah, damn, cool, right? And then that's why professors always wanted me in their labs because they're going, I got 400 students who barely can do this shit and they don't give a fuck. And I got one student who's outperforming all of them, and he's still concerned about what he's missing. Yeah, you can volunteer in my lab. Yeah, here. You know, they give me, it's like carte blanche, whatever you want, because they see the hunger. Nice. And it isn't greed, it isn't pride, it isn't ego. It's if I fucked up and I missed something, I want to not miss it again. Right? Like, yeah.
But most Christians ain't thinking like that.
They don't think like that. They don't think like that.
And that's just crazy. Like, if you literally thought that the creator of the universe wrote a book, if you really thought that, man, you would memorize every word. You would go home thinking about everything you read twice every night. And it's like, they, on some level, they're not entirely convinced. They're just not really thinking about it that deeply. They just kind of take it for granted.
Absolutely. So yeah, that scares me because I almost think I was bound to find my way out somehow. Because finding the truth was too important to me, not making an idiot of myself. So I really kind of think of it as a maturation process.
Yeah.
You know, it was cool when I was younger. I was really into it. A lot of positive feedback, Christian family, Catholic schools, blase glavinoids. Teenage years, I'm becoming less religious, just being a normal teenager, but still hanging on to the identity. Young adult, I'm more or less a cultural Christian nominally, right? But, you know, secular in almost every practical way, just not ready to turn my back on mom and grandma quite yet, you know? And then that was such a gradual slip into atheism that now as an atheist, I'm hardly any different than I was in the, you know, last few years of my Christianity. I just have admitted I don't accept the claims.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I was waiting to throw in, I don't understand why people take so long to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that's a reasonable question. Even though I know you're trying to say I don't want to throw people under the bus for believing it, but it really is kind of mystifying. And I think there's something different about us, and I haven't figured out what that is. My example was I'm coachable. If you tell me I'm wrong, I'm gonna at least give you the benefit of the doubt that you didn't just say that because you're sitting on some bullshit, and maybe I'm wrong. Let me look into it, right? So maybe that's different, but I think it's something different. I think that's a symptom, right? That's a symptom. That's not the disease. That's just a thing I've noticed. But I'm still trying to figure out what that difference is. And quickly,
I was gullible as a kid. Or I'm just kind of gullible.
I am too. Yeah. Me too.
And I think it's that self-awareness of my gullibility that led me to such doubt.
The same reason I'm happy to smoke weed.
Factor.
I'm so happy to be a pothead because I know I have an addictive personality. I know if I'd have got hooked on or messed around with some of those drugs Derek did, I might not have survived to be Derek telling the story of how he was strong enough to kick it, especially cold turkey, that fucking monster of a human being. You know, but I know I ain't that strong when it comes to that shit, you know. So yeah, maybe it's our awareness of our own limits that makes us extra careful and cautious, but I'd love to.
I just think I got punked
study
more
that.
than people probably.
Mm.
Like I think that I probably just got tricked more by people in my life growing up, and that led to more doubt. And so when I first started like actually thinking about the narrative, and like I remember it was like I think like 4th or 5th grade, you know, they ask you if you want to give your life to Jesus, and just the whole thing, I had like so many questions, right?
Yeah.
And I trusted my mom, but it was a matter of maybe it's not. And I think I really was a Christian, and I hate people who say like, "Oh, you were never a Christian because you always had doubt." It's like, no,
Right.
I definitely believed. I just had, but I always had a bunch of questions of things that didn't make any sense. And when I went looking, like any reasonable person with those doubts would do,
right?
I found out. So they just they don't look because they're not looking, and they're not looking because they have no reason to be.
Ironically, weed was really formative for me, and not even in the sense of like smoking it and expand your mind. It's humility to the information. So I remember, it had to be, I don't know, 10th grade, maybe, something like that. I really was hard on kids who smoked weed. And I had known kids had been kind of smoking weed for a couple years by that point. But I was kind of like a goody two-shoes, definitely into the straight edge, Jesus, teetotaler thing. And I would make fun of them hard, like, because I bought into the gateway drug narrative. So I'd say stupid, snarky shit to them, like have fun being a heroin addict or whatever. Right? Because you guys are going to smoke weed? Fucking losers. Yeah, have fun being a heroin addict, right? Like that was my attitude. Because I just bought into the DARE narrative or whatever the fuck, right? And so at some point we actually had a DARE presentation. And so I actually, trying to be, you know, having a savior complex as Christianity is wont to impart in you, I realized that part of the reason my classmates are probably smoking this weed, this reefer, this demon reefer, is because these fucking dumbass DARE programs and teachers who keep telling us to do this shit are corny as fuck, and they're not our peers, right? It's almost like I was in an early peer instruction fucking lesson I was trying to work out. And so I decide, if I do my research, if I go learn about weed, I'll understand the dangers. And then when I explain the dangers to my classmates, they're more likely to listen because I'm not a corny-ass teacher. I'm like, look, bro, I looked it up. Stop doing this shit because it's stupid.
Yeah. And I wanted to convince my dad, by the way, of Christianity. So it's just, yeah, it mirrors that exactly.
Exactly. So I got God-smacked. That was the first time I was like, holy shit, I'm wrong.
Because you went looking and
I went looking and I found normal and all this other stuff, all this research. Weed's never killed anybody. Gateway drugs theories, sitting on some bullshit, you know, institutional racism, like total flip, right? And so it was weird because the first time I actually tried weed, I already knew it. Like, you know how a lot of kids still kind of think weed's bad the first time they try it, but they're doing it to be cool and fit in or whatever. I already knew I had sitting on some bullshit beforehand, so I was different. But literally, it was I always describe it as the most humbling experience I'd had in my life to that point, because I realized I was wrong. I realized not only was I wrong, but I was wrong because I had parroted what other people had taught me without figuring out for myself. I wasn't thinking for myself. I didn't learn for myself. And then on top of that, I had the audacity, like, you know, the Christian confidence, to be arrogant about it, to make fun of people, right? And so I'd put my foot in my mouth, which was rare for me as somebody who, you know, was a pretty smart kid, and most people knew didn't say stupid shit a lot, right? In terms of class, I wasn't saying stupid shit about our homework or, things going on in the world. But when it came to this and other, religion, like, if all of a sudden I sound like a fucking dumbass. And so I think looking back at it, that was something that led me towards being the type of person who just looked into things. And if I didn't know something, I was like, I don't know. Let me look into it. Because I didn't want that humiliation again.
Right.
And I think if something like that happens to you formative years, it could be a trajectory changer. Go ahead, James. You've been trying to get in here for a bit.
Oh no, I'm not trying to interrupt. I'm just thinking to myself about what you're saying and about how we could reach people that are at that part of their journey in life. Like, how do we? Where can we find these people? Like, to reach them, right? Because I don't even know. Because most of the people in the different communities we jump around to are full-grown adults that already have hardened opinions one way or the other.
Right.
I don't know how we reach them.
Yeah, and it is a similar thing where, in some sense, we may need to start focusing our attention on younger people. One of the things I really liked about my Twitch stream was, since it really started with gaming around wrestling and basketball, most of my viewers were teenagers. So all of my content was labeled for adults only because I was going to, smoke weed and curse and all of that shit. But I knew it was teenage boys watching me. But in some sense, it normalized science for them and atheism. And I would have, teenagers talking to me about, hey, I'm going to college in a couple of years and I'm 6'11" and I'm getting a basketball scholarship, but I'm thinking about becoming a biology teacher. And I'm like, that's super cool, And, having kids sneak in to watch the stream during, classes that bore them. Kind of like how Stupid Horror Energy does with her work breaks. They would do like that, but they'd be in fucking school, right? And so I think there's a lot to that, where unfortunately that younger generation is more pliable, and we know that it's trending towards the normalization of secularism anyway. So I do think that there's probably a valid case to be made that a lot of these people are going to die sitting on their bullshit, and if you want to yield, if you want to be efficient with your efforts, maybe you focus on less hardened minds. But I'm not comfortable giving up on anybody, and especially not ruling out people just because they're older, because that gets into a lot of other problems, right? And it's even the way I feel with my grandparents. I feel like, in a sense, I'm giving my mom some time to see how my mom responds to, say, my more explicit challenges of their beliefs. Me just kind of being out with it, like, I don't want to come home for religious holidays, and I'm not going to pretend you guys aren't in a cult anymore. Because I know if I get her to even help me open that door just a little bit, my grandparents will walk through it almost no problem.
Really?
Yeah. That's what she doesn't realize. To her, in her mind, she has to honor them, and they have to set the tone of the family, and she can't get out of line with them because that's not an honorable daughter. Right? It's all the Christian bullshit, honor your mother, your father, so that's her highest priority.
I think she needs to see Theremin Tree's video about emotional blackmail.
Send it to me, because I could follow up, because I sent her your video. I don't know if she's watched it, but I sent her your video, and I told her to watch it with her husband. So if she asks me about it, which sometimes she does, she'll ask me, why are you sending me this stuff or whatever? I'll be like, because James is my friend, and he also sent me this thing. So James, when you send me the thing to follow up for OG Roddy, please send me that link too, if you don't mind.
Right.
Because I will share it, and maybe I'll even check it out and respond to it on stream or something. But thank you for that suggestion. I really appreciate it. Yep. But yeah, so what I recognize that most of us recognize is she is actually the power leader in the family, and they are entering a phase in their lives where they're dependent on her. They're going to be living in her house that she built, that she's paid for, and that is really their ticket to not end up in a nursing home. right? And I don't know if they're going to quite retire from the church, but they're going to stop going to the church physically. And, my grandfather's just going to do the teleconferencing services or whatever. But for me, it's like, if she really opened it up, and said, hey, I'm not sure if this is true, or I'm not sure if I believe this, right, or some of this doesn't make sense, they would sort of, I think, respond not as hostily, not as, like, dig their heels in a sense. Yeah, when she was a little girl, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now they've matured a lot. They've sort of broadened their horizons. They're not the most unreasonable people. And I think they would see it as, this is what we were raised with. This is how we were taught to see the world. We never knew anything else, right? And so if they start to see my mom sees it a little differently, they certainly know that I see it a little bit differently. I think to them that's like a softer landing. There's a lot of black people like that, right? It's just the default way to be a good black person. And my grandmother, not to get too personal, but she never knew her father, right? She married my grandfather very young, teenagers more or less. And then, my grandfather's father was a bishop, right? So it's kind of like, at that point, she's marrying a pastor's son. So she's getting a husband and a father and a spiritual leader and figurehead all rolled into one, right? And then that makes my grandfather have to be the godly head of the family and all of that bullshit. But now they're getting this tension of, well, the real future of the family, like me, OG Roddy, our cousins, we're not religious. And so not only do we not honor that stuff, we don't come around a lot when that stuff's happening. And most of the family, aside from, say, like my wing, like me and my mom, they've been that way forever. So, like, OG Roddy was the type who, his family, like his part of the family, they were going to, like, spend, let's say, the day, Christmas and Thanksgiving or Easter, with, like, OG Roddy's mom's side of the family. The real ones, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're going to come through later, right, to say hi and hang out and play video games and shit like that. So he's going to take the my one black friend strategy, right? Show up late.
Right.
And so for the most part, most of the family has been that way. There's been, like, I've been in the religious wing with my mom. Everybody else is in, like, Lord knows we really don't want to go to church and deal with these religious motherfuckers. So they show up late, exchange gifts, hugs and kisses, hang out and leave. And then they might roll through my grandparents' church once or twice a year. They'll pick a holiday, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, grab one, right? And then maybe if you're around, you come through on Mother's Day, make grandma super happy to see you in church, right? And that's what it's for. It's so that my grandfather looks up, before he gives his sermon and goes, oh, my grandson's here today. And that's where most of my family has been with it for decades, right? At this sort of quiet, we're not really with it, we minimize it, and then try to stay away. But it's been a rift because there's been that sort of closeness where if you're in the religious wing or you take the religion seriously, which basically my mom's wing and then all the elders do, right? Mm-hmm. They're all treating each other like first-class citizens. Like, they all honor each other and they love each other and they celebrate each other. And then they kind of treat the non-religious wing like they're the hoods, so to speak. And really, it's like everybody's the hoods, but religion sort of gives people an air of upward mobility, if that makes any sense. They almost become bougie, even if you're still poor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like Christian bougie. You don't drink, you don't smoke, you you dress nice and say sir and ma'am and all this bullshit, right? Yeah. So
that just makes me more suspicious. I'm like, you don't drink, you don't smoke. What do you do?
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, it's created this divide in our family, right? And it's just tiresome and old. And so, yeah, for me... Go ahead.
They say that it has nothing to do with being superior to other people, but absolutely it freaking does.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely a hierarchy. And so for me, it's now, the point I was getting at before is just to say, like, I'm sort of seeing where my mom is with it, because I want to give her time to maybe make this easier for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But if she doesn't, then I'm just going to do it on my own, because it's just so whatever to me that I just can't imagine, because I hate to say this, but it's like, I can either be honest with them about this, or we're just waiting for them to die. You're just telling me they're too... I just can't... How can I love and respect my grandparents if you tell me that the same man I saw eulogize his mother and his own son is somehow now too weak to be told that he's wrong?
Right.
It's like, if that's really where you're at in life, I'm sorry, I just don't have any interest in you. I know that sounds mean. I know I should say, oh, my great-great aunt, and, you know, I've only got so many Christmases with her left, but I'm not going to go sit up under these people for an hour if they're just going to pray down the walls. It's just... I just don't want to do it, right? So I've kind of accepted I may lose family members, but I'll see it. So you saw that video you sent me, right? You've watched that video, and they basically said if the fundamentalists have this version of religion that's incompatible with science and the truth, it's their own fault.
Right.
And so I do recognize that there's differences in background, class, education. Yes, it's true the people in my family have not had the opportunities and the privileges that I've had in life, but their lack of personal growth is not my responsibility.
Right.
You know, I didn't make Christianity sitting on some bullshit. I just figured out that it's sitting on some bullshit, decided not to practice it anymore.
Right. And, you know, if you have a relative that has an IQ, like, maybe 80 or below, then it kind of makes sense, right? Like,
yes.
Just to kind of, like, humor that. But if that's not the case, if they're looking at over 100 IQ, which is all it really takes to grasp this shit, then why treat them like they're... I can't use the R word. Why treat them like they're special?
Right. And
like,
I'm going to be honest with you. In my family, I'm gifted, right? I always tell people I'm a rare combination of people. I am legally tested, high IQ, you know, depending on which test you take, it's going to be 140 to 150 range, right?
Sure.
And, but also talented, right? Musician, performer, singing, dancing, all that, rapping, whatever, right? And most of my family's that way. So they're not only not below 80, they're not below 100. I'm going to say on average, them motherfuckers is 120 to 130. You know, even my grandfather... as a preacher, right? He's wise politically. He's sophisticated in his analysis and thinking. You know, even compared to other preachers, he's not ignorant. Like obviously he picks and chooses parts of the Bible as part of the faith, right? But he's able to exegete well, right? He's able to read the scripture and pull a creative story out of it and make it relate to the people's lives and shit, you know what I mean? And, you know, these aren't dumb people at all, even now, right? So the treating them with kid gloves is special pleading to the nth degree.
Right.
These are very capable people, right? These are my grandparents. They figured out how to use cell phones and social media and, you know, oh, there's COVID, so now we got to figure out, you know, Skype fucking services and conference. Y'all ain't morons. don't play dumb now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what legitimizes the entire apologetics sphere.
Yeah, we shouldn't be doing that.
I guess it's like it's just specialized knowledge versus a skeptical approach to your entire worldview and to epistemology in a more legitimate sense.
Yeah. So
I mean, you really have to get into the philosophy to like prove them wrong, but it's all there.
Yes, Cameron said, although, you know, it's Cameron's family Seventh-day Adventist, like Jamie Russell. They don't believe in hell. He thinks it gets most folks. I do too. I want to say something about that. I want to come back to that. But he says, although they don't know a lot of this stuff, like they don't know shit about biblical criticism, they're like in a Christian bubble. If they learned all this stuff, I don't know what they'd do. The answer is they stop believing. But I think it's okay for us to be the source of why they stop believing. I think it's okay for us to be like and we can, because we can come from a loving place. I can tell my family this straight to their face. What you believe is troubling to me, right? And it's a bit humiliating to me to watch you continue to believe this. And I mean this sincerely. I think Christianity is a terrible thing to believe. And so I can be honest with my family and say to them, I think they're bringing shame to themselves. I don't like. I can tell them, listen. 4 or 5 generations ago, being the most Christian family on the block was probably something to be proud of. 4 or 5 generations now, it is going to be a source of shame. Flat out. Right. Flat out. It is just not. It's so. I'm coming from a place of love, right? I'm coming literally from a place of you are hooked on heroin, Jesus heroin. Mm-hmm. It is capable of killing you and everybody up in this bitch. So I am lovingly telling you the best thing you could do is stop immediately. Now, that's just kind of my perspective on it. But I think then you say, I've got resources for you. Watch this, read this, check out this, think about this. And I think you start with simple claims. You say, start with, there are no first-hand eyewitnesses to the resurrection of Jesus. I want you to go look that up and let's talk. Right? I've done this with her. I've just dropped let me drop a little Matthew, Mark, and then some of it you can do through a shit test. Ask a Christian a very simple question. What order were the Gospels written in?
If they'll get it wrong, they'll say Matthew, Mark,
They will
Luke,
say
and John,
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or they'll say they don't know. Now, if they're really clever and they say, well, I know in the book it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but I'm not sure what order they were written in, you can say something like, don't you think that's a great question to ask? Don't you think that's a good thing to find out? Right? That points them towards biblical criticism, right? Without you being crazy. So then you can ask those type of questions. How many eyewitnesses were there to the, well, they say he appeared to Paul and, maybe some of the other disciples. They say he appeared to the 500. Okay. And then you can say something like, what if the real answer is none? And it's because he appeared to Paul in a vision. And there's really no good documentation of the appearance to 500. That's just the story. Right? Mm-hmm. I know what I would have done differently because I went back and I rewatched it 2 or 3 times. I didn't dare to assume that I could not have done better, right? Like I just don't ever find myself in that situation, right? Even the reason I could tell people I don't regret, most of my approach to the Kent Hovind debate because I rewatched that bitch 2 or 3 times by now, right? And so. Yeah, it's a different worldview, man. But and I don't know the answer, James. So to get back to your question, right? Because you were saying, how do we find these people, and how do we get to them? So the thing is, I don't know, because I'm willing to grant people that are older and hardened in their ways are difficult, if almost probabilistically, it's just not going to happen from a. Here's the thing. People win the lottery all the time, James. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean it's a good chance that you are going to win the lottery? Nope. Is it a good indicator that your next lottery ticket is likely a winning one? Nope. But should everybody stop playing the lottery? No, especially not because the shit goes to help seniors and serve good public shit, right? They actually do a lot of good with the lottery money that people don't win. So it's kind of the same thing, right? To where we contribute to a lot of good, providing a community for atheists, providing content. Just there's not enough channels, right, James? We don't have enough bars and they're not open long enough. So what me and you do is we post up a fucking open sign, atheist welcome, at least a couple hours a day, a few times a week at minimum, right? Which is a benefit. Our community loves and appreciates that we make that effort to do that. Then we've got vicarious embarrassment. Some people who are watching are realizing, oh, maybe that argument isn't as strong as I thought it was. We're helping each other, right? I'm listening to you, changing my content because James made me realize I'm spending too much time ranting and raving at religious people. We're influencing each other, right? So there's a lot of good that is coming, even though we're not casting winning lottery tickets every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about seeking balance in all things and accepting our limits too, because it's our responsibility to speak truth to power. It's our responsibility to speak truth to grown adults who claim to claim to value truth and value respect. One of the links I just sent you in Facebook was an interview from Penn Jillette called "Tolerance is Condescending," where the way that your mom wants. Yes, where the way your mom wants you to speak to your grandparents is how you speak to little children. It's not how you speak
exactly. How I speak to adults. Absolutely. I say we're juvenilizing them. And literally same idea. Like we're literally treating them like they're children. And that's difficult and painful to do. Now you could say, like you said, if your IQ is below 80, okay. And that's what bothers me. So let's flip to my father's side. My dad's actually adopted, but my dad's adopted father, Sam Bundy, great. He was a drummer, really who I grew up thinking of as my dad's father, right? My grandfather on that side. At a very young age, he got Alzheimer's. And so I have very few memories of him of sound mind. The memories I have of him is mostly, really rough hospital, nursing home visits, and him not being able to really, remember who's who and what's what. And then really later and later, less and less of those visits, right? Because it just got harder and harder for everyone involved, right? Now, compare that to my mom's parents, who have been of sound mind. Like, literally, they've gone to Bible college and gotten masters and PhDs in theology since then, right? They're super sound, strong mind and body, leaders even. Really, my grandparents are really strong, wonderful people, aside from the fact that they don't realize that they don't need God to be said wonderful people. And it's just so unfortunate. But to your point, if they had Alzheimer's, it'd be a different story. The problem is they don't, right? And making me treat them as though they do is, to me, almost putting them in that state. I can't tell you that, the weather outside has nothing to do with God's will today, but sure, go ahead, Grandma. If you want to say, Lord, bless us with some rain, the plants needed, have at it. It's just, and here's another thing that I really just finally figured out how to verbalize in this conversation, so it was something you said that triggered it. I'm essentially trying to do out of love what they did to me. So the first thing I used to always think is, and I told this to my mom, the hypocrisy is awful. How dare people drag me out of bed every Sunday morning to drag me to church and then, and tell me Jesus needs to be the center of my life and the reason I make all these or that decisions. And then when I realize that I don't believe that, all of a sudden they don't want to talk about it. No, that's just not okay. It's just the type of blatant hypocrisy that just can't be okay to be that much of a hypocrite about anything.
Right.
And on top of that, I said, now you've got to accept the fact that you've created a situation where, because it worked, right? Because I was down for the team and on the team and everything, you now got to understand, not believing in God is as, or maybe even more important to me as believing is to you. That's another thing we're not always honest about as atheists. They made religion the center of our lives. And so now they might say, oh, okay, you don't believe anymore. Well, you shouldn't care about this God thing anymore, right? Yeah, you shouldn't care about it. What do you care? They're an atheist. What do you care? Right? So now they want God to be the center of their everything, but you make your atheism small and insignificant. Sorry, it don't work like that. Because again, y'all drag me out of church every Sunday and hold on. You can't now make not believing in God insignificant. It just don't work that way. No, now not believing in God is like fucking one of the most earth-shattering features of my life, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, there's this other thing where, like, my family and myself in particular and many people who are watching us, we were active in ministry. So we do feel, like you said, a normal, human, decent response to say, I loved on children, but I filtered it through the gospel. I woke up and loved on children and showed up to the hood at 8 o'clock in the morning to hold their hands and walk them to school so they knew somebody loved them and cared about them and thought they were worth getting up early for.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it telling them I was doing it because of my love of Jesus and the gospel. So now I got to try to do something to make a better world for these kids and say, you don't need Jesus to be worthy of me trying to do something to make your life better, right? And I just think that that's a natural trying to undo some of the quote-unquote unintentional damage you may have done. Go ahead.
Right, yeah, because look at that missed opportunity to let these kids know that the reason you're doing it is because you love and respect them and want to help them continue to build their future, right?
Which is true, right? It was true. And then we just added that one thing unnecessarily. Go ahead, I didn't interrupt you.
Yeah, so if we just say that our primary motivation, or what it, or we even say one of our motivations, but especially if we say primary, or worse yet if we say only, but any of that's bad, to say the reason we're doing this is because we're trying to make Jesus happy, right?
Yes.
And it's like, Jesus, if Jesus existed, he's got enough love already. Like, we need more of it down here. So don't send any of it up there.
Right.
Spread it around down here. And if he's even worth any respect, he'll want us to do that anyways.
Right. Right.
Stop sending your money. Stop sending your love up here. Spend it down here where people need it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. You need Jesus to back you up. I always say as a drummer, a lot of times, if I love your music, I will really tell you a lot of times, James, but I always tell people, you don't want to know my opinion of your music. And I always say, because it's my job not to have one, because you need me to back you up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so if I'm like, yeah, James, I'll back you up, but to be honest with you, that song fucking sucks, bro. It ain't really my style, James. It's not really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'll do it. Yeah, I guess I could. Right now, you're like, well, damn, should I ask somebody else? Or I'm kind of in a tight spot, Jay. I don't really have a long list of drummers that I can ask to help me out in a week. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want me to be like, James, I got you. And what's my opinion of the song? I'm going to treat it like it's the best song I ever heard, like I try to do every song I'm asked to play, regardless of how I actually feel about that song. And that's how the fuck Jesus should be. He should not be sitting up there like, what about me? What about my glory? Do it this way. Jesus should, like I said, if Jesus is sitting up there with the cure for COVID and he hasn't given it to us, fuck him. That is my morally sufficient reason to say fuck him. Because Jesus, we're trying to do the end pandemic song right now. Could you get behind us? Could you get on 2 and 4 with the end the pandemic as soon as possible song and dance, right? And Jesus is like, yeah, but it's not really my style. I'm kind of maybe you would take the long way and morally sufficient reasons to let 1 million people die to really no, Jesus. Fuck is wrong with you, right? It's so, you're totally right. And so the other thing I wanted to just kind of say is, we're trying to undo some of what we've done in the name of the Lord, right? But also, and this is what I'm realizing with my family and friends, and I just kind of realized this today as we're talking. I'm actually trying to do for them what they were trying to do for me, right? If we give them all the gracefulness, all the benefits of the doubt, like all of them, we just say they were severely misinformed people who, setting aside being they're being severely misinformed, did what for us? Every fucking thing they could. They got a hold of this fucking God thing, and they were like, holy shit, this God thing is like the ultimate father, the ultimate love, the ultimate good, the ultimate, right? So they were like, James, you got to get you some of this God, man. James, I'm telling you, James, look, from the womb to the tomb, James, from the womb to the tomb, you need Jesus. That's about all you need.
I got all kinds of answers for that. They ain't gonna like any of it.
Right, but you can recognize, especially if you have, and it's a big if you have loving friends and family who may have steered you down that path for all the right reasons, let's say. You can now come back and say, I'm trying to get you off that path. Also, hopefully, for all the right reasons. I love you so much that I found this new fucking ultimate. It's called not God. Yeah, it turns out not God is the best way to be honest. And not God is the best way to live your life. And I'm trying to, seriously, out of love, get you to lead at Jesus alone. Because I'm trying to tell you, it's the most loving thing I could. If I could do one last loving thing for you, it would be save your money. I've got something to tell you, right? And so I'm realizing, like, I'm kind of cool with that, even if they don't get it.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, it's just got to happen, and if they can't respect it, and they just can't, you can't make anybody grow up. You can't make anybody, like, be courageous and confront what's really happening, but you can require of ourselves, right? We can require of ourselves that we're the adult in the room, whether they want the adult or not. And then they can decide what they're going to do with that or not do with that, because that's not our problem. So that's where I am about it.
Yeah.
And it's about setting healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's their journey, but here's mine, and here's what I'm doing with it.
For sure. So we got our Rumble more or less configured, so I'm happy with that. So I'm loving this. This is what I love about Gather. We've got UC Love here streaming his game action, and Lena and James on the panel. I'm going to hang out tonight and Gather and double stream Monday Night Football and Monday Night Raw. So I'll probably end 7:45, 7:50th. So we've got another half hour plus, but shit, man, I'm done for the day, man. I'm thrilled with this community. I'm so happy with everything that's going on. And James, let me just say this, man. Gather Space was built with you in mind. We sort of have realized, hey, we like to all hang out in one space because we're still small and growing in our community, and so it's nice to all be together. So, I want you to come in here and stream, especially like during the day and shit, because my goal is, let's say we actually get your audio set up right so that I don't have to call in just to pipe your audio through. Let's just say we've got that worked out, right? I'd love for you to just come in and stream, and then I'm in here chilling, working, and, it's sort of like when I stream and Lena's here or Carrie Ann or Cameron's here, I'm not necessarily planning them into the show, right? But I'm just here. I'm doing whatever I'm doing, even if it's me and Gin and Truth or me and my one black friend. And then if we ever pipe up and say, Carrie Ann, what the fuck do you think about this? You know what I mean? She may or may not pipe up and speak her mind, and so it's kind of cool to have that going. But also, I definitely had you in mind when I made the speakeasy, right? And even part of the reason I made the Pinochle Lounge kind of like a separate back bar area was because I knew I'd want to maybe have that type of vibe if you were holding things down, broadcasting in the speakeasy. And then there's similar opportunities like on the roof, at the church. Obviously, I love when you use the church and all that. So it's always totally up to you, man. If you want to rock with us, you can. If you want to just, sometimes it's like, I'll give you little decisions to think about. If you go into, say, the church, right? And we're all hanging out at the ranch, people might not know that you're there because it's a separate server, right?
Right.
So you may want to pop in to the ranch and say, hey, I'm going over to the church if anybody wants to come. You see what I'm saying? Little stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in the ranch, but you're just in the speakeasy or on the roof or in another room, people will see that you're in the server. So they'll be like, oh, I'm going to go see what the fuck James is doing, right?
Yeah.
And then one of the other things we've done is we've tried to, and we don't always get it, so don't worry about it if you forget, but we try to sometimes indicate with our statuses what we're doing. That way somebody like you could say live or whatever, or streaming or something like that. And then when we come over, I could keep in mind like, okay, don't come over here and get loud or broadcast stuff because James is doing the show. Kind of just lay back and get a feel for what James is doing. And because a lot of times that's what I'm looking for. Like, I'm not looking to take over your stream. I'm looking for like, I want to work and just kind of poke my head in and not even on your stream, but to my stream, and just like be working while we're listening to James Apperson, and then once in a while mute it, be like, oh, here's what I think about what the fuck James just said. All right, cool, I'm back to coding while we listening to James. You know what I mean? So just, it's always flexible, whatever you want to do, man. But I definitely had you in mind to be in here. So definitely, you know,
appreciate it.
Just feel like you can go wherever you want, and you know, I'll kind of work with you or move around. And then obviously it's fun, like, you know, to figure out how to co-stream and stuff like that. And some of it is when we do that, we just got to tell the audience what we're doing, you know, and it's okay. There's still going to be people who don't know, right? Because they'll tune in late or miss the explanation or hate it or whatever the fuck. So it's all good.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I had somebody that didn't like it yesterday when they walked into my stream. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, and I was saying something about Christianity, about how if you compare it to the relationships of narcissists, it's the same thing. It's just given a religious pretense. And someone walked into the room and they were pretty unhappy with that. They're like, how come you're using like official diagnostic criteria for a thing that's religious? Like, what, am I supposed to make up a fantasy diagnostic criteria for your fantasy religion? Would you rather I do that?
Right.
Like, come on, I can't win for nothing with these guys. Like, and the answer, obviously, for him would be no. I don't want you to make up a fantasy criteria to damn us with, right? But he also doesn't want me to use the real ones. And I'm like, that's pretty telling if you know you don't want me to use the real ones.
Yes, I was just going to say it makes your point, because to your point, that is the playbook. So you're not saying this person is a narcissist, but goddamn it, if that isn't textbook narcissism, how dare you say that I'm the thing I fit the definition of?
Right. And this is my point. Like, and I clarify this repeatedly. It's not that all religious fundamentalists are narcissists. It's that they've all been trained to think and act like narcissists. So the real ones amongst them blend in and are hard to spot because they're all acting that way.
And this hurts me because my grandfather is what they call a quote-unquote true man of God, right? So one of the consequences is that I put up a video earlier today about, I think it was earlier today, about faith healing, right? And I said, holy shit, like, my grandfather's guilty of this. Now, he's not a faith healer, right? He's not a person who would ever say, oh, James, come here, I'm going to heal you of your fucking cancer. Or come over here. He's not a charlatan, right?
Yeah.
But he does believe the favor of God is a mechanism by which someone can be healed. So he is perpetuating that narrative, right, that you can, even if it's just because he simply truly believes it. Now, that makes, to me, him not, and again, he's not a violent fucking extremist, and you're not going to counter-apologize him because he's not Benny Hinn running around with a goddamn airplane, right? He's just your local pastor who's just trying to tell people, hey, you do need to go to the doctor, right? But we're all praying for you, right? And we hope that God heals you, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So he's not a faith healer, but he believes in healing through faith. You see what I'm saying? And it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem because, again, it legitimizes it and softballs it, and then it puts most Christians into what? That pliability zone where, because again, what I was thinking about is you really got to think about, it's almost like I took this criminology class, right? And you could think of something like fencing. You know what fencing is? You're a thief. Lena's a customer. Lena would not buy things directly from a thief, right? So as a fence, what I do is I get the goods from you, I pass it off to some store for a fee of the whatever the fuck's, right? And then all Lena does is come along and get a good deal on a sweater, right? From as far as she knows, wholly legitimate retailer, right? But it's her willingness to look the other way and not ask too many questions about the discount, the retailer's willingness to just get a little bit of extra profit margin on something he can sell at a discount, and we're all part of this goddamn thing. You see what I'm saying? And part of the marketplace for the actual faith healers is the quote unquote normal or regular pastor's credulity of essentially God's arbitrary healing nature, which then people believe can be petitioned, right? And whether that's in lieu of or even just in addition to medical care, right? And that then makes them what? Vulnerable to, okay, I may send the doctor, I may go to my doctor, but if Mike Murdoch wants me to send him a few bucks so that, he'll pray for me, and when he's got this, great reputation of healing works, right? And that's what a lot of them feel like. Oh, they've been touched with the blessing of healing works, right? Does that make you a faith healer, or you just believe your prayers are extra powerful when it comes to healing, right? You see what I'm saying? It's a continuum. And I just realized he's not anti-faith healing like we are, right? We're anti-healing, all of it, right? We're anti the whole thing. And it's like the alt-right playbook. If you ain't an anti-racist, you're probably on the spectrum that's part of the problem. If you're not completely against faith working in people's lives to do anything material, you're probably feeding into the narrative that gasses up, that fuels that economy, right?
Right.
Because to your point, you're playing out of the playbook of the narcissist who are with that, right? You're doing it because you innocently think you're touched. They're doing it to make a buck, but both of you are slinging the same bullshit.
Right.
Yeah, James. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, he's enabling the grift, but then saying, I'm not doing the grift. I just believe in the grift, I don't do the grift.
Right. That was the Rebecca, right? Selling the candy to the, oh, hey, the guy back in the van, he's got the whole box. Go see him. Too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And people get upset when I use that analogy, and I'm like, tell me where the analogy's wrong. Tell me where it's wrong. They can't. They can't.
It's a great analogy.
Yes.
Oh, man. So,
rumors. Go ahead.
James, let me also ask you this about Gather. Like you said, we're trying to go beyond. So I know you're into health, right? So we're into the common workspace. I'm actually going to add a Zen garden. But what other hobbies do you have that you're into? Because you're not a gamer, right? You don't like playing video games and shit.
Here's the thing about that. Like, I love it when, on the rare occasion, I find a game that I can play with my sons. I love it. But the thing is that they wear out quickly. We have a couple of good gaming sessions, but then we get tired of the game because it runs out of depth. But we're looking for the next level of the game, and it's just not there. And then, because the AI becomes predictable, and you memorize the maps, and memorize the, you get your button groove down, and there's just nothing else to it after that. It goes from being too hard to too easy pretty quick. There's this, level you can ride for a while, but then it just drops off. And so,
you know what? I wanted you to talk to Lena about that game you liked, because you liked that Star Trek game. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you just triggered that memory, and I wanted to get it out. But yeah, please continue.
I was about to disagree with James completely on what he just said, but I'm curious what game you're talking about.
I mean,
there's a Star Wars game, maybe, James, that you liked.
Oh, Star Wars Galaxies, but that doesn't really. It's not officially on anymore. There's just free servers, and the problem is the graphics are too dated. I feel like I'm playing Minecraft in space now, and I just can't get into it.
I see.
And other than that, the game is still great, even on the free servers. I just can't. My brain just can't. Like when it first came out, and we're used to even worse graphics, I felt like, wow, the graphics in this game are great.
Right.
But now that I've been spoiled on modern graphics, I'm like, this is shit. I feel like I'm playing Minecraft. I can't take this seriously, and so I just don't play it. And so Stupid Horror Energy was talking about playing. There's a game that came right after that. I think it's but they're Star Wars games, right? And is it the Old Republic? I can't remember what game she plays.
Well, yeah. I'm thinking about playing that one. I think mostly because she's on it or whatever. That's what I'm trying to do is find games that the community will get into.
I would, if you find one, let me know. Really, and there's games that I love about some things about them, but they're just not enough.
Sure.
Like Satisfactory was great, but the AI for the enemies was stupid. The rewards for killing the enemies was lame, and once you get the hang of like building, tricks and stuff like that, like it's just there's nothing more to do. That's the problem I have with all games. It's like once you get past the learning curve and you master the game, you're going great for a while, but then you realize there's nothing new. It's just the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
And that just kills it for me. Now, Star Wars Galaxies didn't have that problem, but the graphics are a problem. So
yeah.
I don't know. If you find a great one, let me know. But in the meantime, I do a lot of health research. Recently, I found out that seed oils are bad for you, like really, really bad for you. And I didn't know that. Nobody told me this.
Like, say, avocado seed oil or something like that you're referring to?
I'm not sure if avocado seeds are on the list. I need to look at that. I meant to look at that,
Okay,
actually,
but you just mean in general seed oil. I'm in the right class of things. I'm not missing
seed oils. Probably it would be too. The problem they have with seed oils is they have to use heat and chemicals in order to remove the oils from the seeds effectively. And so it doesn't work well in the body. No matter if they sell it to you as in liquid form or whether they let it kind of like thicken up and solidify as a preservative in food, it ends up causing all kinds of inflammation in the body, which can cause all kinds of diseases and problems with your health.
Interesting.
And like every single thing on the list of symptoms for that I have. And I'm like, well, no more seed oil for me. And so, I just found that out yesterday. So I've been drinking almond milk a lot because I try to avoid dairy because I'm trying to get as close to vegan as I can without, hurting my health or overly complicating my life. So I'm not strictly vegan, but how close can I get to it and still be happy? And
have you seen the food pyramid from Harvard, James?
Is it the new one?
I don't know if it's new. It's different from the government one.
I haven't.
From the one that I was shown growing up.
I haven't.
You should check that out. It's just like how they break up, what your food portion should be, and it's a lot more fruit. It's like mostly vegetables. Fruits are more, and then things like bread and meat is really low down.
Yeah.
So I think they had some seed oil and stuff like that. I remember that was a box, but it's not a lot. I don't know if that's like what you're talking about is a way with the processing, or if it's just the seed oils is the problem. But probably too much in the average diet in the U.S.
Yeah.
So James, couple things, and I'm just spitballing, gather ideas. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you could easily do is, how we have those side rooms built off of the main room in the office?
Mm-hmm.
You could totally use any of those as like a room to go in, and if you were, say, like working on a blog or playing different videos offline and stuff to get different ideas. One of the things that I've been thinking a lot about lately is support, right? So you're at a point where a lot of the viewers would really like to support you, but you're below YouTube's things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to your credit, you probably don't care so much about YouTube's things, right? So we'll get your Streamlabs set up so you can have like a tip and a super chat command, and I'll show you how to do what I call ghetto super chats.
All right.
Basically, you just set up the command so the bot does it, and then people get the link and chat, and they click on the link, and it goes to a tip page, which is really nice. You can customize it, which makes it really feel like legit, just like a super chat would be. And they can leave a comment, and then or question, and then in your dashboard, when you see the tip, like it'll show you all your tips. When it shows you all your tips, it actually will show you their question and comment. And so then you can read it aloud, thank them for the donation, and read the question or comment, just like a super chat. And you don't need...
Just like all his other chats. For now, until it grows bigger.
Yeah,
You're
and
going
you
to have to be picky.
Yeah, and you don't
And
even...
that's when this is going to be useful.
Yeah, well, it's useful now because it's a way for...
Because money.
Yeah, and then also you get the little alert that goes off. So you get the alert, people pay attention to it, it shows the donation, it's really, really nice, and then you highlight it. So for instance, like you and I know, James, there are periods where you're going to let the conversation go. You might not get every chat, right? Or you might not respond to every chat substantively, right? But... Trust me, you send that super chat, right? You're gonna get my undivided attention in a very thorough answer.
Spend the next half hour.
Yeah.
Especially if it's from a hate post, from Otangelo. Alrighty.
But look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm talking pro wrestling. That's how you do business. How I got Donnie to get me that Kent Hovind debate. People remember I called out Kent Hovind. I did it because I sent Donnie a $10 super chat. Right, which was, he knew exactly what time it was, right? Because I'm literally paying you to read this thing where I call out Can't Help. He's like, okay, man, send me your stuff, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then even since then, I've sent him super chats just to send him little trolly comments, and he'll read them online or whatever. But it is fun. It's like playful fun, right? And again, I tell people, would I feel bad if somebody said, well, you're supporting his channel? I know I'm supporting his channel, but I treat it like he's a friend from church, right? He's gonna have a Christian channel on some dumb shit. In his opinion, I got an atheist channel on some dumb shit. But we're both wrestling fans. We're happy to do something together when the opportunity arises, and we treat each other like decent human beings. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people don't like me. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, but it doesn't have to be like that. But yeah, that's my point. Like, you can sometimes hate super chat people, and it's fun. As long as you're not.
And for our listeners, don't send any super chats to Donnie. Don't send them. Send them to James.
Lean is one of the people that doesn't like Donnie.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, send him to James. So James, there's that. But here's the other thing I'm thinking about. So let's say something like a Gutsick Gibbon video happened to you, and you get a whole bunch of viewers from it, even way more than I did, right? You might have a lot of people that subscribe, but let's say they're mostly new to you. For whatever reason, they're still a lot more likely to support people like bigger streamers, right? I think for people like me and you, we're kind of more about the handful of people that are on the, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name tip, that are more likely to support us because they're just are, right?
Yeah.
And so what I think Gather allows us to do is focus not even on just using Gather as a place for YouTube or even a place to hang out offline, but eventually a place to get more support, because you can focus on being offline and then say, I can show you guys whatever I want. So for instance, you might say, oh, I'll write a blog on a topic, but you could in Gather show that movie. So you could just watch the movie with people while you're putting it together, and then go on YouTube later and make a video response to it, right? And I think all right, so here's what I was thinking about today. I'm gonna kick it to you like this. What I was thinking about today is a lot of my model when it comes to content creation is be practical about what's easy to do. Because if it's not easy to do or realistic, you're not gonna do it. So the reason I love streaming is I hate editing. And if people understand that, they'll understand the whole model. Because, of course, I could make a cool little video, but it requires a lot of editing, and the result is a video that's very, very short, right? And so it's just not the model. Even people who blew up on crazy viral videos are no longer making those type of videos because it's too much work for too little content. Streaming flips it. You go live, you make a lot of content, absolutely no editing. Because when you're done, it's done.
That's what I do.
Yeah. And so, cool, you could work on now editing and other projects and drawing and more stuff that's going to take time. But number one, I always say it's great if you get your setup to the point where you can stream that. Because if I have to spend 4 hours editing a video, I'm going to do it live, right?
Right.
That way, I'm not losing that 4 hours of content time. I'm just gaining a video at the end of a 4-hour stream, right? So now I have 4-hour stream and a video, right? That's plain and simple how I think about that, right? Now this other thing I'm doing with that was now with Gather, it's like, no. Now we're about offline. And now when we go offline, we actually step the game way up. right? Like we doing whatever, right? So for me, that's gonna actually make that group of passionate follows actually more likely to be with you. And so now, to me, that's what you want to put in your Patreon. Because a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to do a Patreon, but they make Patreon really hard. They say, oh, I'm going to do a bonus show for Patreon. So now you're going to record a special video, go out of your way to do a special interview, maybe pay somebody, then edit it all down, upload it. That's a lot of work for one video, especially when you ain't got a whole lot of people on your Patreon. So you want to do something that fits into your life and gives your fans extra access, which is value for their support, right? Without you doing extra work. Because if it's extra work, you're just not going to do it. And if it's not extra work, you'll do lots of it, right? So this is what kind of Gather does. So it almost gives you that backstage. So now you could be like, oh, backstage, I need to chill and write my blog or edit or whatever. So now you're just offline. Boom, do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about anything. Then you can say, oh, I want to kick it, have a movie night every other week. Boom, cool. If you're one of my Patreons, you come in together, do movie night with James Apperson, right? And at first you just do it for free, just to, do it and have fun. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing that it'll offer people a lot more access for their passionate fans. Without a lot of extra work, in a way that I actually think for small content creators will be more likely to get support because people will be happy to do so much more free stuff with you. Because I know, like about them videos. I know you got videos pulled, and I know you were pissed, right? And I told you, it's all good, and you bounce back, and, you've moved on. Yeah. But that shit's frustrating, right?
Yeah, it is. Especially, toward the end of a 7-hour stream.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Uncle Bobby, he's thinking about it because, him and I are getting together because he's into the multi-streaming and he wants to actually show videos and watch videos with people in Wax. And I told him, the way you're doing it now is actually a lot safer.
Yeah.
Right, and so he's like, well, maybe I'll just, keep it like the way he does it now, but multi-stream it. I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. But you could also do it in Gather and let people watch with you. Just don't stream the screen.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of flexibility. But yeah, I just wanted to throw some of that stuff out there, get it on Wax so other people could hear it as well. But, dude, we're just freaking proud of you, man. You crushed it. You just jumped on YouTube and started doing awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kept talking about it. You got me to. You're like, just do it. I'm like, I'm gonna. You're like, just do it. Eventually, I just did it. And I'm like, I should have just done it.
Yeah, it's all good, man. They're fantastic. I really love listening to your stuff. And I wanted to ask you, actually, how do you think you approach this balance? Because like you said, you do come at Christianity with these hard challenges, but at the same time, you're trying to avoid the confrontational energy, right? And then that's not an easy balance, because you might say, I want to talk about flowers, trees, and sunshine today, and Otangelo's still going to show up and be like, well, James, you never explained how you could have morality without God, so...
Right. And, you know, it's whatever. He knows I'm going to say, okay, come on and discuss it with me. And he knows he's going to back down. He's afraid of me. I mean, and I don't say that as a boast. He's afraid of me.
Sure.
He's willing to go and chat and talk some shit when he thinks I'm distracted, but he's afraid of me. He won't come on stream. And it's just like Peter W., and I haven't seen him in a while, but he won't do it either, ever. Like, these people know. They've heard me talk enough to know you really don't want to come on screen with just me and you. You don't want to do it. Right? And it's interesting because I don't yell at them and swear at them like Jen and Truth would, and you would think that would make me the safer bet, but they're like, nope, not doing it. So they know.
Well, it doesn't, because I think with them, even with me and or like a Jen and Truth, it's easier for them to play the victim and the, oh, you got up and walked away, or oh, you cursed at me, I'm out of here type of deal, and they can use that as part of their tactic. And I think with you, you're just gonna give them the calm, dispassionate sort of excision, and they don't want that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, it's the sort of, they're real scared of the guy who the stone cold killer's the worst, right? The people who kills people calmly, very business-like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the motherfucker nobody wants to. The raging motherfucker, you could probably figure out a way to get away from. He's committing a crime of passion and shit. Like, he's gonna slip up, you know what I mean? Because he's raging.
Yeah.
But the motherfucker who's just clocking in, yeah, you're fucked.
Hello, neighbor. Guess what we're gonna do tonight?
Yeah, exactly. Holy shit. Yeah. There's this new wrestler based on Dexter from, Dexter Morgan from that show, the Showtime show.
Yeah, it's just called Dexter, right?
Yeah. And and this guy's name is Dexter Loomis, and he's real murdery, but he's super calm. He like never shows emotion and shit. He's terrifying. It works. He's absolutely terrifying. But yeah, man, what you got coming up for the people? Because I'm gonna probably end the stream kind of soon, but I want to make sure if there's anything you want to talk about, you get to, and then also let us know what you're thinking about coming up.
Yeah, so I'm still waiting for a female co-host to do the consent stream. I still want to do a sexuality stream that's gonna piss people off, and I decided, fuck it, I'm saying it anyways. Cool. Because I'm not feeling the groove with the social justice warriors. I'm just not. I'm not a conservative. I'm not like sitting on this mountain of hate. It ain't nothing like that. But I think they're doing it wrong. I believe in the same things they believe in, but I think they're doing it wrong, and I'm going to talk about it.
Sure.
But beyond that, I've got various blogs. I wrote 2 blogs today and 1 yesterday, so I'll probably be releasing those. And so I'll make some streams about it. And I think what I'm going to do from now on is, it was a one-way thing where I make the blog and it inspires a video on YouTube. But now I think I'm going to bring it full circle, and then what I'm going to do is read the blog into a video that I pre-record, and then we're going to stream the reading and talk about it, right? And then I'm going to carry it from there forward after the reading, where we keep on talking about the issues.
So you are at home alone or somewhere, and you record yourself reading your blog, then you stream yourself, but now it's the recording of you reading the blog, so you can pause it and wax a little bit more if you'd like.
Right. So that way I've got the
go ahead. No.
That way I've got the original recording of the blog that I can put at the top of every blog from now on, so that if somebody wants to just read the blog or hear the blog, they don't have to read it. They can just push play and then go fold laundry or go work out or whatever. They hear the blog, right?
Right.
And then I've got that to work with, and so then later I schedule a stream where I upload the blog and I let it play, but I stop it periodically to add commentary, read chat, talk to people about it, press play again, and that becomes its own stream. And then
That's really good. I like that.
that's what I want to do, because I don't want people to have to read, physically read the words that I've typed out from now on.
Yeah.
And it helps me to read it out loud too, because a lot of times I don't catch typos or problems with the way I've worded things until after I've read it out loud, and I'm like, you know what, that flows better if I move this word around, or things like that.
I've been dealing with this with Rob Pennock's book. Like the content is really good, but it's hard to do like on stream because it's long format, and then it's in the middle of other stuff, and then it gets spaced out, and I'm like, I need to make a conscious effort to sort of almost like record it as a video audiobook, right? Like a vlog, and then make that a series of videos, and then maybe stream, me recording that series of videos, because
Right.
and then editing it and stuff, because it's long chapters, so you're not going to be able to get it in one take to that caliber, right? You're going to have
Right.
to edit it and stuff like that, and chop it into bits, and but it's sort of worth doing, because if I do it, number one, it helps. I think it'd be a nice little treat for Rob, and I could use it as a reference.
What if I did that for him? Do you think he would be, if I did it well enough, where it's professional, do you think he'd be willing to share that with his students, to say, if you guys don't want to read this, you want to listen to it while you're folding laundry or driving your car? A friend of a student of mine.
I'll ask, because I would love to source something like that to the community and save myself the time, and you certainly got
Right.
the voice and the background to do it and do it well. So yeah, I would love that, actually. So
that would help me too,
talk to
because
him. Yeah.
because then if he officially recognizes it, assuming he likes the end product, then I'd make sure that he does. Then I could add it to the list of things that I've done, and that looks really good on a portfolio.
Yeah. I think that could be great, actually. And then and then we could just take it from there, right? Because I just was like, it'd be cool too, because then you could I could go back and try to lay video to it or something afterwards. But
that'd be great.
That'd be awesome. So yeah, I'll definitely mention it.
I've noticed that I have different voices and different purposes without intending to. So my live stream voice is different than my reading, or even reading live stream voice, and then my voice message voice, when I send people voice messages through Facebook, is a little bit different than that. And it's like I don't even intend to have a different voice for every occasion. I just accidentally do. And I've noticed that recently. Holy shit. And it's interesting because I try to make myself use my Facebook Messenger voice for my reading voice on YouTube, and I can't do it. My brain says no. But if I stop and say the same thing in a voice message to a friend, my brain says, okay, yeah, I'll let you. And it's like, the hell, brain, who's in charge here, me or you? I'm in charge. You use the voice that I say you're going to use. And my brain's like, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of maybe a gift too, because I was thinking the other day about how I'm the type of person who, if I'm around people for even a couple days and they're from somewhere different, or I'm somewhere different, and they talk really different than me, I will almost certainly be talking more like them in terms of tone and pacing and turns of phrase and stuff like that.
But that's actually a good skill. I mean, it's better to do it purposefully, but I mean, that can help you. It's because you're more in group when you do it, right?
Yeah, and it's something I started noticing about myself as a child. And sometimes people would say things, but for the most part, it just becomes part of identifying with a group, right? As part of the group. But yeah, there are a lot of these things that I think there's real differences in people's verbal adaptability. You got to remember. So I always forget this. People are, there's that mass terror of public speaking for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah.
Even.
Well, I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
but that's easy to get past. You just talk and then you're good. It's the fear of the thing is worse than. It's hard to explain, but like once you just do it, you realize it's nothing. You're just talking to people. You're just talking.
Yes.
It's just nothing.
Part of what I love about what we do, and I think about it in the same way we think about our students, so I always think that there are these real differences in life. We've talked about this, sort of the escalation of participation from a passive watcher to you leave a comment to you call in to you start a show or whatever. There's like this escalation, right? Mm-hmm. And you see this in the classroom, right? There are, students who really never speak in class unless it's their turn to give a presentation.
Right.
Versus students who speak every class. There are students who are deathly afraid of answering a question they don't know an answer to. And there are students who are willing to guess and be wrong on the regular, right? They're just, let me take a shot at it. You're like, let's go. So, you kind of notice these things. And what you're hoping is for everybody to grow on something they need. So for me, I was always the talk first student. And so for me, I always wanted to build a chemistry with my teachers where they understood if I ever raise my hand and another student raises theirs, go with the other student, and I got to be mindful of, not overdoing a conversation that other students actually want to participate in, right? Mm-hmm. Especially because 80% of the time nobody wants to talk, so I'm good to go. So, just pay attention for when people actually get inspired,
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm not afraid of talking, whether it's online or in person or whatever. I'm not afraid of talking publicly, and I've actually tried in the past to get churches to I'm like, look, if you guys ever do a talk about atheists and you want to interview on, I will show up, sit on that stage, and you can ask me anything you want to. Just you got to be willing to listen to my answers.
I think that'd be awesome.
I know, I would love that, but they just never do. They just don't. So we'll see what
I
the
always
future
think
brings.
if I play at the right church and they ever were into it, I would. Lately, I've been thinking more. What I really want to do is get some sort of clearance for a participant observatory type of research deal, where it's I'm gonna try to get in this church and play on the worship team or be on the sound team, and then document my experiences and how I see this, affecting, the pedagogical goals in my field or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's really what I've always gotten from it, right? Mm-hmm. That kind of I don't want to say undercover because that makes it sound like I'm not genuinely trying to be part of the group, but that's what you get the feeling of privilege, right? It's almost like it's a conscious, it's an open double life. It's not a secret. It's just I happen to be a worship drummer. I happen to be an atheist evolutionary biologist, and it's super cool to participate in both of those things at that level, right? But I want to find productive ways to use it to actually contribute to, how we think about engaging, right? And the implications for evolution education. Because really it's about what we're doing, right? It's about the fact that people have their identity and their sense of community attached to these ideas, and so that's what's at stake for them. I always say what they're unwilling to let go of is their salvation and the community ties that depend on it, over a theory, as far as they're concerned, right? And that's the problem. It's not that they can't read and don't understand what a phylogeny is. It's that they've never been taught what a phylogeny is because they've been taught never to go anywhere near anything with the E word in it.
Right.
So, yeah. But the other thing I want to mention about sort of the speaking thing, right, is with our students, it's like, I think there's trajectory differences. So I think all of my students, irregardless of their, personality differences, are super capable, right? They wouldn't be where they're at, and they're all on their way to where the fuck they're going. But let's just pretend we're talking about all things being equal, right? And so we're dealing with some objective level of talent, and we're going to assume everybody in this situation has the same level of skill and talent. Well, there's a real difference in life if you're the type of person who is the I only speak when the boss forces me to give a presentation, versus I'm like one of the vocal leaders of the workplace.
Yeah.
It makes a difference literally from the first time they call you to schedule an interview on, right? Like, because part of what they're evaluating is, who do we want to work with? Who's cool, right? Who's not going to just be capable? Who's going to be a vibe, right?
Right.
Like, I don't know if people notice, me and Cliff get together, we like hanging out together, right?
Right.
Sometimes when we meet offline and shit, our meetings are like 3 or 4 hours because we're just fucking chilling and vibing like me and you are right now. Right. Makes it a hell of a lot easier to get through a stream if, it's not like, yeah, so you were like the best programmer in the stack, but like, fuck, working, talking to this person is like fucking pulling teeth. You know what I mean? Like, right. It's just, so it's a huge difference. So we want them to even just take the next step to where, like, if you were the type of person who would never leave a comment on the video, we want you to leave a comment on the video. Right. Because that step forward is really important, right? Because it's the gateway to the next step, right? And it matters independent of how competent you are, how good you are character-wise, and any of that. It's just it's a skill. It's a real skill where there's a real, like, variation and spectrum of capabilities on, and the further you are along, the one side, the better it is in your life all around. And it's even with things like, when I was, trying to be a dating coach and really involved in politics, part of what made me really powerful, for instance, like on a campaign, is I'm willing to knock on a couple hundred doors in a day, knowing most of the people are going to not want me there, slam it in my face, tell me to go away. People ask, what's your secret with dating? I said, I've been rejected more than anybody you've ever met in your life. You want to meet 100 girls in a weekend? What do you think? You're going to walk up to them all and they're all just going to go back to your dorm room and give you a blowjob? Give me a break. Oh. Most of them are going to say no, but that's going to give you the resiliency to get through enough that you find those magic opportunities. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's one thing that kind of pisses me off about the ladies, is they say yes way too often, and they're not giving me an opportunity to build up resiliency. Come on, work with me here.
Seriously. But yeah, but that becomes, this from sales though, right? You're selling something a lot of people don't need, don't want, and sometimes people are not really appreciative of you even trying.
Yeah.
And if you
sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, you just can't do that job, or at least not well. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you're going to say, because unless you know how to read people, and unless you're willing to take a lot of no's.
Yeah,
you can't take that shit personal.
Yeah.
So I used to be a salesman. I did door to door, and one of the reasons I did it is because I knew it was a good experience for me. Character building.
Same.
So it's one of the things that everybody should do for a season at least.
I could say the same thing about being a dining room server and a bartender, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been those as well. It's interesting. So the thing is like, like, you get a lot of no's and a lot of people get irritated with you, but every once in a while, some pretty decent looking woman will answer the door naked, and you already know you're going to make a sale that day, one way or the other.
You already know.
You already know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I'd like to come in and show you what I've got. And she'll say, yeah. If she says no, then I guess maybe she was hoping you were a Jehovah's Witness because they turn her on. I don't know. Because sometimes they're not sure what they're answering the door for, I guess. But a lot of times they'll peek. They'll peek out the window, and it takes a minute before they answer, and they open it naked. They know who the frick is at the door. And you don't even have to say, does this mean we get to have sex? You just say, oh, well, I'm, just give them your pitch and say, yeah, I'd like to come in and show you what I've got. And they know exactly what you mean. You know what they mean. They say, yeah, they're good.
Boom.
If they say no, they're just a tease. Some of them are just a tease.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's the fun for them.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I thought you were my husband or something. Some shit. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, no, I've had them say that before. I'm like, oh yeah, he sent me.
Yeah. All right.
He said I'm supposed to take care of business today.
James, it's 8:00. I wanna get to chilling even. So you don't have to go anywhere, but I'm gonna end this stream off of YouTube. Is there anything you wanna say to close out?
No, not really. Just you know where I'm at.
James Apperson, actually, bro, the link is in the description. Actually, Nidamos was on earlier. His link is in the description. I see. That's why I got to add people to the template, man. It's like, look, it's already in the description. Just go in the description. The link's already there. Go to James Apperson. Check out Nidamos. There's a lot of people already in Gather, so we are already gathered in the Gather for the gathering. So check us out there. We'll be going through wrestling and football and hanging out, and so and I'm sure people like Lena and a lot of people will be gaming. I'll probably be gaming too because a lot of people don't like sports and wrestling. So there's that. But we'll see the rest of you guys tomorrow, and thank you all so much. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens, science bless you.